The divorce certificate in my hand still radiated a faint warmth from the printer. The steel seal was clear. In the photo, Soo-young and I sat side by side. He forced a smile at the corner of his mouth. I wore a calm expression, even a bit numb, obedient. "Chingyue, don't look at me like that. I feel bad in my heart." Soo-young's voice sounded in my ear, with his usual earnest yet helpless tone. "Really, I swear to you. This is only a makeshift measure. Once Wanwan's child is born safely and registered, we'll remarry immediately. My mother is pressing too hard. She's old and just longs for a grandchild. You know that." "I know. Of course I know. I know how. Over the past 2 years, his mother Wang Shuiying has quietly and openly despised me for not having a belly that moved. I know when Lin Wanwan, the so-called distant cousin, moved into the neighborhood next to ours. I know even more what kind of person's seed is actually inside Lin Wanwan's pregnant belly. I just didn't expect Soo-young to be so bold and straightforward, to use such a clumsy ruse as a fake divorce to trick me into signing this agreement that would completely sweep me out of the house. I didn't cry or make a fuss, and I even cooperated by signing on that obviously unfair agreement. The house, the car, all of it was his premarital property or post-marriage funded by his parents. The savings, almost none. He said business was tight. I felt like a robot programmed to complete all the divorce procedures. Soo-young clearly breathed a sigh of relief, and the look in his eyes even carried pity and a hint of guilt. He probably thought I was still the Chingyue who loved him so much that I lost myself, letting him trample on me. As we stepped out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, the sunlight was a bit sharp. Soo-young reached out to pull me closer, but I gently dodged. He paused, then leaned in again, lowering his voice. "You go back to the small apartment you rent to settle down. Don't think too much. Once this is over, I'll come back for you in style. Wanwan, after all, she's carrying my child. I can't ignore her. You've always been the most sensible one." I lifted my head and looked at this face that once made me feel I could lean on it, now only seemed unfamiliar and ridiculous. I cut off his words, my voice calm without a trace of agitation. "Soo-young, did you bring your phone?" He froze for a moment. "You brought it. What's up?" "Let me use it for a moment." I stretched out my hand. "My phone is dying. Call my dad, report that I'm safe. After all, divorce is a big matter. I should inform the family." A trace of awkwardness flashed across Soo-young's face. "He isn't close with my father, that stern military region chief Shinguodong. They've always had a distant relationship, even a bit fearful." But after a moment he handed me the phone, still warning. "Say to Dad that you're doing well. Don't let him worry. Just say we're having a bit of a disagreement for now. We're apart too. Cool off, and definitely don't mention Wanwan or the kids." I took the phone, in front of him, deftly dialing a number he'd never saved but which was carved into my bones. The call connected quickly, and a calm but clearly concerned middle-aged male voice came through on the other end. "Hello." I take a deep breath, toward the microphone, clearly, slowly, word by word. "Dad, it's me, Chingyue. Soo-young and I have divorced. The certificate is just issued." He says it's a fake divorce, too. "Register the child he sired with Lin Wanwan in our family. Once the registration is done, he'll remarry me." I didn't make a fuss, as he wished. I signed. "Now, it's your turn to act." I fired him, got rid of him, and told him to go sleep on the streets. With every sentence, the blood on Soo-young's face drained a little more. When the last line hit him, his whole face was blotched pale as paper, his eyes nearly bulging out of their sockets, his lips trembling, like a fish out of water. Wanting to rush forward to grab the phone, but seemingly nailed to the spot by an invisible nail, his whole body frozen rigid. There was a 2-second silence on the other end of the line. Then my father, Shinguodong, spoke, not showing any emotion, yet with a metallic, icy quality that could be heard through the microphone. Even Soo-young standing to the side could faintly hear. "Got it. Stay where you are. Don't move. I'll have someone pick you up and take you home." As for Soo-young, the father paused briefly, as if delivering judgment, and said, "He will get everything he deserves." The call was disconnected. I tucked the phone back into Soo-young's already petrified hands, and even gave him a faint smile. "Thanks for the phone. Oh, by the way, about reconciling, there's no need to bring it up again. After all." I glanced around at the surroundings, my tone as light as if we were discussing the weather. "From today on, you've got to worry about where you'll sleep at night first." The Early autumn wind blew across the square in front of the Civil Affairs Bureau, carrying a touch of chill and rustling a few withered fallen leaves, but the chill could not compare to the cold that rose from Su Yang's heart at this moment. He gripped the phone I had just placed back into his hand so hard that his knuckles turned white, as if he were trying to crush it. In his eyes, which used to always brim with feigned gentleness, there was now incredible astonishment, fear, and a hint of collapsing rage. Shinqingyue, who did you just call? His voice sharpened so much it pitch shifted, drawing the puzzled glances of a few passers-by in the distance. I tidied the coat collar blown by the wind, and spoke in a calm tone. My dad. Didn't you hear? You dad. The chief. You're lying. How could you? Su Yang stammered, shaking his head violently, as if trying to shrug off a terrible nightmare. You did this on purpose. You're trying to scare me, isn't that right? Qingyue, this joke isn't funny at all. Didn't we agree? This is only temporary. Watching him look so devastated, the last remaining, pitiful thread of reluctance in my heart completely vanished. Once, I had been fooled by this very image of deep affection and helplessness again and again. Xu Yang, I called his name, not loud, but enough for him to hear clearly. Do you think I'm joking? I gestured to the divorce certificate in his hand. The red book is right here. Legally, we have no relationship at all. As for promises, that's your unilateral promise. When did I ever agree to cooperate with you using the divorce certificate to pave a bright road for your illegitimate child? That's not an illegitimate child. Xu Yang, as if stepped on a cat's tail, almost leaped up, but wary of the surroundings, forced his voice down. His face flushed. That's an accident. Moreover, Wanwan is not well. She cannot be shocked. And Mom has always wanted a grandson, so, am I destined to be sacrificed? Is that it? I interrupted him, finally revealing a trace of mocking smile. Am I destined to be schemed by your whole family, sign a clean break without claiming divorce agreement, then roll to the side, and wait for your charity-like reconciliation, not for you to leave with nothing? Aren't you supposed to live in that apartment? Su Yang hurriedly said, trying to grab my arm. I stepped back, dodging his hand. That one-bedroom rent 3,500, far from your company and your mom's home. Over half a city away. Su Yang, I paid the rent myself. The contract clearly states that after marriage, in the division of property, I get zero. Su Yang fell silent, his face alternately flushed and pale. He clearly did not expect that my long-standing obedience and silence were not dullness, but that I had seen everything clearly all along. At that moment, a black car with a special military license plate stealthily and smoothly rolled up in front of us and stopped. The door opened, and a young man in plain clothes but with a straight posture and sharp eyes stepped out. He first gave me a slight nod and respectfully called out, "Miss," then his gaze shifted to Su Yang, whose face was as pale as death, and his tone was official and businesslike, lacking any emotion. "Mr. Su, the superior has instructed you to immediately return to your original position and cooperate with the investigation. Your personal belongings will be collected and sent out later by someone. For now, please do not disturb the young lady." Xu Yang was struck as if by lightning, staggering backward one step, looking at the car again, then at me, finally at the guard who obviously was sent by his father. He opened his mouth as if to say something, to beg for mercy, to justify himself, but only a wheezy hiss came from his throat, and not a single word could be spoken. The guard no longer looked at him, turning to me and saying, "Miss, please get in the car. The chief and his wife are at home waiting for you." I nodded slightly, not giving Su Yang another glance, and bent down to sit in the car. The moment the door closed, it cut off the world outside that had suffocated me for years. It also cut off Su Yang's face, completely shattered, filled with despair and disbelief. The car slowly started and left the Civil Affairs Bureau square. Through the rearview mirror, I saw Su Yang still standing stiff as a wooden stake, tightly gripping the divorce certificate in his phone, looking both ridiculous and sad in the autumn wind. The guard sat in the passenger seat, glanced at me through the rearview mirror, wanting to say something but stopping. "I'm fine, Brother Chen," I spoke up first, voice a little tired, but more a relief after the dust settled. "Let's go straight home." "Yes, miss," Brother Chen replied, then added, "The chief is very worried about you." I cleared my throat and leaned back against the soft leather seat, closing my eyes. Worries were certain, but more than that, I was afraid of anger. My frustration at being unable to read people, and the righteous fury at Su Yang and his family for going too far and bullying others. The car drove toward the western part of the city, a tightly guarded, serene large compound. There, that is my true home, and for the past 3 years, in order to a so-called ordinary and warm marriage, I hid in my family background, lived with Su Yang in an ordinary commodity housing complex, endured his mother Wang Xiuying's picky and troublesome treatment, like a fool, running a home built on lies and betrayal. Now, the dream should end. The car rolled into the courtyard, passing through layer upon layer of guards, and finally stopped in front of a quaint and elegant small building. I got out, took a deep breath of the fresh and familiar air here, and walked up the steps. The door opened. My mother stood at the doorway with her eyes slightly reddened, grabbing my hand and examining me from top to bottom. "Qingyue, my child, you've suffered." I shook my head and clasped my mother's hand. "In return, Mom, I'm fine." In the living room, Father Shenguodong sat on the sofa, his back straight, a document in his hand, brows knit tightly. Upon hearing the noise, he looked up, his gaze as sharp as lightning. It first swept over me to confirm I was all right, and only then did the fierce aura gradually ease, though his expression remained stern. "You're back." His voice was not loud, but carried an undeniable authority. Dad, I'm back." I walked up to him. Father set the documents down and pointed to the sofa opposite. "Sit, tell me everything again from start to finish, do not miss a single detail." I knew this was so my father could thoroughly understand the situation, and then there would be a thunderous retaliation. I sat down and began with how Su Yang's mother, Wang Xiuying, from the very beginning asked after me and cared, then later, because I had not conceived for 2 years, began to mock and sneer. I talked about how Su Yang's cousin Lin Wanwan randomly appeared, how frequently she came and went in my home, and how she and Wang Xiuying were as close as mother and daughter. I spoke of my self-deception when I found the flirtatious messages in Su Yang's phone, and finally, the earth-shattering moment of seeing Su Yang accompany Lin Wanwan, who was visibly pregnant, to a prenatal checkup. He knelt down to beg me, saying he was momentarily confused that Lin Wanwan used the child to pressure him. He said the one he loves most is me, he cannot be without me, but the child is innocent. His mother also pressured him to death to give the Lin family an explanation. My voice was very steady, as if recounting someone else's story. "So, he came up with the plan of a fake divorce, first divorce, so Lin Wanwan can safely give birth to the child, using my divorce certificate to give her and the child a seemingly innocent identity. Once the child's household registration is settled, he would find a way to win me back and remarry me. He said this is the only way to preserve our marriage without hurting the innocent child, a two-bird with one stone plan. Ridiculous, shameless." The mother trembled all over with anger, and tears flowed uncontrollably. His face was ashen, and the hand resting on his knee clenched into a fist, with veins bulging on the back of it, yet he restrained himself, signaling me to continue speaking. "The divorce agreement was prepared by him with a lawyer long ago. Our marital home," he said, "was bought outright by his parents before marriage, and has nothing to do with me. The car was purchased for his company's business needs and is the company's asset. As for the savings, he said his business investments had failed, he owed debts outside, and there was almost no money at home. In the end, he kindly helped me rent a small apartment, paid 3 months' rent, to let me have a place to stay temporarily." I curled my lips. I agreed to everything, signed the papers. This morning, I went to handle the procedures. The living room was silent. Only the mother's soft sobs. After a long while, the father finally spoke slowly, his voice edged with ice. "So, he thinks that I, Shenguodong's daughter, am a soft persimmon that can be kneaded and squeezed, used and discarded. He thinks that by hiding your true family background from you, he can bully you and scheme against you with impunity." The father stood up, walked to the window, his back steady as a mountain, yet containing a coming burst of anger. "Xiaochen," the father spoke in a low voice. The guard outside the door, Brother Chen, who had remained quietly on guard, immediately responded and came in. "Chief, 2 things." The father didn't turn around, his voice firm as iron. "First, immediately, in my name, issue an official letter to the disciplinary committee of the unit where Su Yang works, requesting a comprehensive investigation into his lifestyle and economic issues. Focus on that so-called business of his, and the financial dealings between him and Lin Wanwan." "Yes." Brother Chen stood at attention. "Secondly," the father turned, his gaze sharp, find the house where Su Yang's parents currently live and determine the ownership. If I remember correctly, when the old couple were laid off, much of the money for buying the house was hidden from us by Qing Yu, supplemented with her own savings and the bride price. Gather all the evidence. Also, the car Su Yang is driving now, under whose name it was purchased, and the sources of funds. Investigate all of it. Understood. Father waved his hand, Brother Chin accepted the order, and they hurried away. Mother wiped away her tears, holding my hand, torn but steadfast. Qingyue, don't be afraid. With Mom and Dad here, we will never let that family of traitors turned envious pig trouble us. You stay at home, live as long as you want, take good care of your body, and adjust your mood. I looked at my mother, then at my father, whose remaining anger toward me was mixed with concern. The heart that had wandered for 3 years, endured so much, finally sank back down to reality. Dad, Mom, I said softly, with a clarity and calm I had never had before, I'm not afraid. What's mine to take back, I'll take back piece by piece. What they owe me, I'll repay it one by one. Father looked at me with a trace of approval in his eyes, and more compassion. You should rest first, you don't have to worry about what comes next. He paused, then added, as for Su Yang, since he likes the option of sleeping on the street, I will help him realize it as soon as possible. I nodded. I know my father's as soon as possible will absolutely not take long, and at this moment, Su Yang, who had just barely recovered from the huge blow at the Civil Affairs Bureau, and who had returned to that home that once belonged to us in a daze and spiritless, was probably facing another storm. He probably still hopes that this is Shinchinyua's bluff intimidation, or that the high-end mighty father-in-law, that esteemed superior, will remember a little old sentiment. Unfortunately, he will never understand that by choosing to trample Shinchinyua's heart and dignity in the most despicable way, he has already torn off his last protective talisman with his own hands. The show is just getting started. Moving out of the home that had been lived in for 3 years was much easier than I had imagined. The man and car sent by my father are waiting downstairs in the small apartment building I rented. There isn't much to move, really. When I was married to Su Yang, in order to accommodate his so-called pride in not wanting to rely on the Yu family, I hardly brought anything noticeable from home. A few outfits I wear regularly, some books, and an old laptop. The whole lot. Brother Chen, with 2 orderly assistants, moved quickly and in less than half an hour loaded my meager luggage onto the car. Before leaving, I took one last look at this temporary shelter, a small space filled with memories of humiliation, then without hesitation closed the door and left the key on top of the fire hydrant at the door. Whether Su Yang would come to take it or not, that had nothing to do with me. The car didn't go straight back to the courtyard. Instead, as I requested, it circled around the apartment complex I once called home. From a distance, I could see that familiar building downstairs, with a familiar-looking Volkswagen SUV parked there. That was Su Yang's car. On the rear passenger window, there was even a childish cartoon sticker stuck, the kind Lin Wanwan likes. Miss, do you want to go over? Brother Chen asked. No need, just stop here and take a look. I rolled down the car window, and my gaze calmly fixed on the window on the 3rd floor. The curtains were not drawn tightly, and you could faintly see a silhouette inside swaying. Not long after, the balcony door was pushed open, and Lin Wanwan, heavily pregnant, walked out, holding a shirt that clearly looked like a men's shirt in her hand, happily hanging it on the drying rack. A smug, unabashed look of a mistress shone on her face. Immediately afterward, Su Yang's mother, Wang Xiuying, appeared on the balcony, holding a tray of fruit in her hands, affectionately handing it to Lin Wanwan, and even reaching out to touch her protruding belly, her mouth open and closed. And from so far away I could almost hear her those nauseating little precious heart and golden grandson endearments. Lin Wanwan turned her head to a direction in the room and said something. Then Su Yang also came out. He looked somewhat tired, with a somber shadow over his brows. Evidently the blow from the Civil Affairs Bureau and the subsequent investigation notice had drained him of energy, but when he saw Lin Wanwan and Wang Xiuying, he forced out a smile, took the fruit plate from Wang Xiuying, and personally fed a grape to Lin Wanwan's mouth. What a warm scene of 3 generations living together, full of harmony. The sunlight shines on them, warm and cozy. In my car, there is a faint chill in the air. Big Brother Chen glanced at me in the rearview mirror, wanting to speak but stopping himself, probably afraid I would be sad. I smiled softly and rolled up the car window. Let's go, Chinji, there's nothing worth looking at anymore. The car slid out of the neighborhood quietly, in the rearview mirror. That warm scene grew smaller and smaller, and finally disappeared around the corner. Shall we go? Straight home, miss, Brother Chen asked. I leaned back in my seat and closed my eyes. There was no stabbing pain as I had imagined, only a cold, calm numbness, and a trace of faint irony. Su-young, this is the life you are so eager to have, isn't it? Then go ahead and enjoy it. I just don't know how long you can keep this warmth going. Back at the villa, my mother had already asked the nanny to tidy my room up properly. Everything was the familiar sight before my wedding, even the stuffed toy on the bedside was still there. The air was filled with the scent of home, steady, tranquil, and with a strong sense of protection. I took a hot shower, changed into comfortable loungewear, and as I went downstairs, my mother was in the kitchen reminding the nanny to simmer soup tonight and to add more calming medicinal herbs. My father was sitting in the living room watching the news. When he saw me come down, he pointed to the sofa beside him. "Is everything taken care of?" his father asked, referring to the moving out and lease termination matters. "Well, nothing much, very quick." I sit down across from him. The father nodded, switched channels, and said casually, "Su-young's unit moves quickly. The notice of suspension and investigation should be formally issued to him personally this afternoon." So fast. I was a bit surprised, but then relieved. Once my father acts, it will be with the speed of thunder. Her mother, and that woman. "Have they moved in?" Father asked again, his tone calm, but his eyes sharp. "Yes, I saw it when I came back. Very harmonious." I chose a neutral word. Father snorted softly. "A bird occupying another's nest. You're in a hurry indeed." He paused, looking at me. "Qingyue, you remember, from now on, you and that person, and his whole family, have no relation to you. Everything about them is their own fault. Your heart needs to harden." "I understand, Dad," I nodded solemnly. "Mercy to the enemy is cruelty to oneself." I spent 3 years and paid the price of a marriage to finally and completely understand this principle. Meanwhile, inside the bird's nest that had just been occupied by the kites, the atmosphere was not as serenely warm as I had seen. Su-young carried the last box of Lin Wanwan's luggage into the master bedroom, exhausted to the point of slumping on the living room sofa, a sheen of cold sweat on his forehead. It wasn't fatigue from moving things, it was mental weariness, fear. Since leaving the Civil Affairs Bureau, the phone call from Qingyue and the guard's cold words that followed had been haunting his mind like a nightmare. He tried calling his unit's supervisor to probe for information, but the other party's tone was unusually official and distant, only saying to keep communications open in the near future and to cooperate with any possible work inquiry. "This is unusual, Brother Yang. You must be exhausted. Drink some water." Lin Wanwan cupped a glass of warm water, inching over with her belly protruding, leaning against him, her voice charming. "From now on, this will be our home. So nice, sister." "Oh no, Miss Shin, she really just moved out so decisively. Did she not make a scene?" Su-young felt flustered and disturbed, took the water cup, took a gulp, and did not respond. Wang Xiuying was in the master bedroom, enthusiastically helping Lin Wanwan tidy up, roughly stuffing the clothes and supplies that originally belonged to Qingyue into several large plastic bags, and throwing them into the corner, muttering, "Should have cleared out this cursed stuff long ago. It takes up space." "Wanwan, look at this dressing table. Do you like it? If you don't, I'll have Su-young get you a new one tomorrow. You're now 2 people in one. You must have the best of everything." Lin Wanwan's face showed a shy yet pleased smile. "Mom, no need to waste money. This is fine. As long as I can be with Brother Yang and Mom, I'm happy wherever I live." Wang Xiuying's heart swelled with joy as she stepped out and patted Su-young on the shoulder. Look, Wanwan is so sensible, 1,000 times better than that hen that won't lay eggs but hogs the nest. If it weren't for your misguided obsession with marrying the Shinshin guy back then, my grandson could have been selling soy sauce by now." "Mom," Su-young snapped irritably, interrupting her, "could you please say a little less?" "How did I say so little?" Wang Xiuying glared. "Did I say something wrong?" "What's so good about Qingyue? Her family background is ordinary." Su-young has hid Qingyue's true family background. "Her job is just that, and she can't even have a child. If it weren't for your soft heart, talking about old feelings, you should have left long ago to marry Wanwan. Now it's good, finally cleanly separated. Wanwan and the child can be legitimate and proper. Who are you showing that sour face to? Is the title and the statement in accordance?" Su-young smiled wryly in his heart. The divorce certificate is real, but that last call from Qingyue, if what she said is true, what rightful status is there to speak of? What awaits him might be an abyss of 10,000 feet. "Youngji, are you still thinking of Miss Shin? Lin Wanwan perceptively sensed Su Yang's mood was off. Her eyes reddened and she looked on the verge of tears. I know I'm at fault, that I and the baby have dragged you down. If Miss Shin isn't willing, I can go. I can give birth to the child by myself, without dragging you down. As she spoke, tears started pouring down. Aya, Wanwan, what are you talking nonsense for? Wang Shuiying immediately hugged Lin Wanwan with a tender, protective look, glaring at Su Yang. Su Yang, look at what you've done to Wanwan. The baby in her belly is yours. You're already separated. What more do you want? Do you really want to reconcile with that eggless one? I tell you, as long as I'm alive, you won't get your way. Su Yang's head throbbed from the noise, seeing the crying Lin Wanwan and his angry mother. A surge of unnameable evil fire rushed up. He suddenly stood up, roared, enough, stop arguing, can I have a moment of quiet? After shouting, he grabbed the phone and car keys on the table and slammed the door. The door slammed shut with a bang, leaving Wang Shuiying dumbfounded inside and Lin Wanwan, whose tears were wiped away and whose gaze had grown dark in an instant. Su Yang drove aimlessly around the streets several times before finally stopping the car by the river. He lit several cigarettes, trying to clear his mind. Father Shin, that Shin chief, would he really use his connections to mess with himself for his already divorced daughter? Would he just be intimidating? After all, he had been his son-in-law before, wouldn't he care about face? But the thought of Shin Qingyue's cold, calm look on the phone at that moment, and the guard's unquestionable tone, made Su Yang's heart sink even further at that moment. His phone rang. It was his unit's direct supervisor calling. Su Yang's heart tightened. He hurriedly pinched out the cigarette butt, cleared his throat, answered the phone, and tried to make his voice sound normal. Hello, Commissioner Liu. On the other end of the line, Lu Chu's voice had lost its usual familiarity, remaining strictly formal. Su Yang, where are you? Return to the unit at once. Lu Chu, is something wrong? There are a few things at home, I just finished dealing with them. No matter where you are, now, immediately come back. Lu Chu interrupted him, with an unmistakable tone. The discipline inspection comrades are waiting for you in the office. Regarding certain information about you, you need to cooperate and explain. The formal suspension investigation notice has been issued. Please come back to sign for it. Stop the investigation. Su Yangru was struck by thunder, his voice changing tone. Director Liu, is there some kind of misunderstanding? Is there a misunderstanding? You should explain it clearly to the comrades from the discipline Inspection Commission. Su Yang, Lu Chu sighed, lowering his voice a bit. This time, the directive came directly from above. It has a high backing. Take care of yourself and hurry back. The line disconnected. Su Yang held his phone, standing in the river breeze, his body freezing, as if falling into an icy cave. The last thread of luck shattered completely. Shui Qingyue, she really did it. Her father, too, truly stepped in, and so fast. So harsh. Suspension and investigation. This means his job, his future, is very likely all over. He doesn't know how he managed to drive the car back to the unit. He wandered into the familiar building in a fog. His colleagues' gazes toward him were odd, curiosity, sympathy, and, more than anything, a deliberate avoidance. He steeled himself and walked to his department's floor. Two comrades from the Discipline Inspection Commission were already waiting in the meeting room, their expressions grave. The process moved quickly, or rather, it was the other party informing him unilaterally. A red-stamped notice of suspension pending investigation was pushed in front of him, listing the preliminary reasons as suspected serious lifestyle issues and possible financial problems, with a severely negative influence. Comrade Su Yang, please, within the specified period, provide a truthful written explanation regarding the relevant issues, and cooperate with subsequent investigations. During the investigation, your work ID, access card, and other items need to be temporarily surrendered. You are not allowed to leave the city without permission, and please keep your communications open. The disciplinary inspector's tone was cold and formulaic. Su Yang's hands trembled as he signed his name. The moment he handed over his work pass, he felt as if his soul had been torn away. He didn't know how he left the unit. Sitting in the car, he gripped the steering wheel with white knuckles, his knuckles pale, his teeth chattering. Anger, fear, despair, and a crazy, betrayed fury intertwined, almost ready to swallow him. Shin Qingyue, all Shin Qingyue, that vicious woman, she ruined everything for him, and that father who wields power to oppress others. Yes, go find her, Go beg her, she used to love herself so much. If you lower yourself and go beg her, admit your mistakes, perhaps her heart will soften. After all, they were married for 3 years. She can't really be that heartless. That thought clung to him like a lifeline. Soo-young started the car abruptly, driving toward the small apartment where Shinchinua had rented previously. As if driven crazy, he completely forgot that just a few hours ago he had personally witnessed Shinchinua move out from there and leave in a car with a military ID hanging on it. When he panted up to the apartment building and pounded on the familiar door with all his might, there was no response from inside. The neighbor across the hall, disturbed by the noise, opened the door impatiently and said, "Stop knocking. The girl who lives here moved out at noon today. Everything has been cleared out." Moved out? Soo-young paused, then realized she must have gone back to her father's place, that guarded, high-security courtyard. He turned and rushed downstairs again, then drove toward the West City compound. But at the first guard post on the perimeter of the compound, he was stopped by a bald, expressionless guard. "Military Administrative Zone, no loiterers allowed." The guard's voice had no warmth. I'm looking for Shinchinua. I'm her husband. I have something urgent," Soo-young said, sweating profusely with anxiety. "Please present valid identification and your visitor appointment record." The guard glanced at him, his eyes filled with scrutiny. Where could Soo-young possibly get in? He can only repeat again and again, "I really am her husband. We just divorced. I have an urgent matter to find her. Let me in, or at least relay a message for me. Please, find Shinchinua, or find Chief Shin. Just say Soo-young is looking for him." Upon hearing the words Chief Shin, the guard's eyes sharpened a few degrees. He surveyed him up and down, especially noting his current embarrassed, anxious state. Then he picked up the internal communicator and whispered a few words. Moments later, the guard put down the communicator and said to Soo-young, "The chief's household replies, no appointment, no outsiders. Miss Shin does not wish to see you. Please leave immediately. Do not linger here, or we will take necessary measures." "Impossible, she won't ignore me. Let me say a word to her." Soo-young tried to rush forward again. 2 guards stepped forward immediately, blocking him. Their hands were already resting on their equipment at their waists, their eyes full of warning. "Comrade, please cooperate and leave immediately." Watching the guard's cold, unwavering demeanor and that uniform, Soo-young's strength suddenly drained away. He knew that no matter what, he couldn't get in today. Shinchinua really wanted to draw a line between them, even exhaust him completely. He wandered back to the car in a daze, and a huge despair and anger overwhelmed him again. What should he do? The work had stopped. Shinchinua was not seeing him, and at home there was his mother waiting for good news and Lin Wanwan who was pregnant. The phone rang again, this time from my mother Wang Xiuying. Her tone was filled with anticipation. "Son, how is it? Is the unit okay? Will you come home for dinner tonight?" Wanwan even cooked a soup for you herself to celebrate our family's reunion. A family reunion. Soo-young looked at the stern guard posts outside the window and the fading evening light, and a grin uglier than crying stretched at the corners of his mouth. His reunion would probably have to start with sleeping on the streets, and on the other end of the phone, Wang Xiuying was still chattering about plans. "Right. Yang Yang, Wanwan's belly is getting bigger and bigger. Isn't our house a bit small? I think the new development in the next district is nice. When the time comes, have your wife, have Chinua over there see if they can put in a bit more money, and we'll move to a bigger place. After all, it's just her family now. Isn't it all going to be yours later, now that you're technically separated? But didn't you say it's a fake divorce? She should be willing to contribute money too, right?" Soo-young closed his eyes, slammed the phone off with a sharp snap, and punched the steering wheel with a fierce blow. A shrill car horn rang around the quiet courtyard, startling several birds that had returned to their nests. At home, the dinner table felt unusually different. It was no longer the way it had been during the 3 years I lived with the Su family, either cold and silent or filled with Wang Xiuying's picky remarks. The dishes on the table were all the foods I loved, and my mother kept piling them for me. Her gaze filled with heartache that almost overflowed. Father Shinguodong sat at the head of the table, his eating posture still marked by the soldierly propriety and briskness, but his brows never fully relaxed. He didn't eat much, mostly thinking in silence. "Chinua," father put down his chopsticks, picked up the nearby damp towel to wipe his hands, and spoke in a steady voice. "Soo-young and his mother, back then at home, was it really like this with you? Those words, those things. I know that what my father asks about is not only what I saw today at the Civil Affairs Bureau, but Also the moments I have endured over the past 3 years that I have never once disclosed to them. Mother also stopped moving, looking at me nervously. I swallow the soup in my mouth and put down the spoon. There's nothing left to hide, pretty much. It was fine at first, but then, because I kept not getting pregnant, my words became increasingly harsh. Wang Xiuying, Su Yang's mother. She believes a woman's greatest value is to have children, to have a son. My job, my hobbies, in her eyes, are all misdeeds. Where is Su Yang? What attitude does he have? Father asked directly. Him. I tugged at the corner of my mouth. He either pretends to be deaf and dumb, or says, my mom is old. She speaks bluntly, no ill intent. You just have to endure more. Sometimes when pressed and anxious, he even privately complains to me about his mom being stubborn, but once he turns his head, he does whatever he wants. After Lin Wanwan appeared, he became even more, I paused, found a word, more righteous and self-assured in making things difficult. Are you in trouble? The father keenly seized on that word. Well, he says he loves me and can't bear to part with me, but he can't do wrong to the child in Lin Wanwan's belly, and he can't disobey his mother either, so he has to wrong me a bit, make me more sensible, and cooperate a little. My tone was as calm as if I were reciting a weather forecast, but the fingers under the table still curled slightly. It's not pain, it's absurdity and revulsion. You bloody thing. Mother couldn't hold back, slamming the table in anger. What does he take you for? A soft persimmon he can squeeze at will. Clear you too, endured so much grievance. Why didn't you tell the family sooner, Mom? I looked at my mother, voice a bit softer. At first, I thought I could handle it. Later, probably a little stubbornness. I felt telling you all would make me seem especially failed. Not even managing my own marriage well. Later, I became numb, and found it pointless too. My father had been listening the whole time, not speaking, his fingers tapping lightly on the table, a habitual gesture when he thought. After I finished, he slowly raised his eyes, his gaze like a sliver of metal. Not just these things, right? Economically speaking, that so-called business of his, and the money at home, what's going on? Finally getting to the key point, I took a breath and said, before we married, our family didn't demand a dowry. Instead, we gave a sum of money and even a car as a dowry, but the car was in Su Yang's name. He said it would facilitate his business talks. He said that money would be invested, to partner with friends on a project, and I didn't ask much. For household expenses, most of my salary went into it. His money, he said the business needed turnover, rarely brought home. On the divorce agreement, our joint savings were less than 50,000 yuan. He said the rest had all been lost, and he owed some debt elsewhere. The house, he said, was paid for in full by his parents before marriage, none of it related to me, fully paid before marriage. His father sneered. I checked. The house down payment was 600,000. Su Yang's parents were laid off at the time, scraped together 200,000, and the remaining 400,000 came from you transferring from your own savings and from that card we gave you at the time to Su Yang, who then transferred it to his parents, as a loan. Where is the promissory note? I paused for a moment and shook my head. At that time, I didn't ask him to sign a promissory note. He said we're all family, that writing a promissory note would hurt feelings, and that it was a loan under his parents' names, to be repaid slowly later. Stupid, the father snapped, not at me, but at the greed and shamelessness of Su Yang's family. That car costs 800,000 yuan. 50,000 came from a fixed-term deposit that matured and rolled over from before your marriage, and another 300,000 is the wages and bonuses you earned for more than 2 consecutive years after marriage. The car purchase contract and the invoice are all in Su Yang's name. I nod. I never had a father who checked these concrete numbers so clearly. I only know the rough basics. I feel wronged, yet I never thought to calculate and confront so meticulously. Now, with my father laying each item out on the table piece by piece, I realize more clearly how blind and generous I used to be. And, the father continued, his tone chilling, his business, the so-called investment, preliminary investigations show that he and a few pickpockets set up shell companies registered under their names. Over 3 years the turnover isn't small, but actual profits are almost zero, and the destination of most funds is unclear. Meanwhile, he and Lin Wanwan in the southern city's upscale district, under Lin Wanwan's cousin's name, rented a long-term apartment with a monthly rent over 10,000, until Lin Wanwan's pregnancy became apparent and they moved out. the luxury brands Lin Wanwan wears in her consumption records also contain many of Su Yang's payment details. I don't know any of these. I don't even know that Su Yang spent so much money on Lin Wanwan. My chest feels blocked as if something presses hard, not pain, but a ridiculous sense of being fooled to the extreme. I cut back on expenses, subsidize the household. Yet he takes money that might belong to our joint assets. Keeps a mistress outside, squanders without restraint. Mother was so angry she couldn't speak, only gripping my hand tightly. Father looked at me, his eyes were stern, but more than that, they were sad and resolute. Qingyue, have you woken up to it now? This isn't just a personality clash, nor is it simply a mother-in-law and daughter-in-law conflict. This is premeditated deception, plunder, and betrayal. He has counted on your kindness and endurance, counted on your willingness to sacrifice everything for so-called love and family, so he shamelessly bleeds you dry to support another woman. And he even fantasies that you will swallow the indignity and continue to be their stepping stone and a cover for their family. His words were as sharp as knives, slicing through the warm, self-deceived veil I wore, revealing the bloody, ugly truth beneath. Dad, I've seen clearly. I heard my own voice a bit dry, yet unusually firm. I've seen it through to the end. Good. Father stood up and walked to the landline in the living room. It was a red internal direct dial phone. He picked up the handset and dialed a brief number. It's me, Xinguodong. Father's voice came through the earpiece with undeniable authority. Regarding the investigation into Su Yang, I'll add a few points and request immediate follow-up. First, financial issues. Focus on auditing his company accounts and the funds flowing to Lin Wanwan and her relatives, and determine the true destination of the so-called investment losses. Apply to freeze his personal and associated accounts to prevent asset transfers. Secondly, lifestyle and fraud. Collect solid evidence that he maintained a long-term improper relationship with Lin Wanwan and fathered a child during their marriage, including but not limited to residence records, and testimony. Contact civil affairs, the neighborhood committee, and verify that he uses the name fake divorce to commit fraud in divorce proceedings and attempt to infringe on the rights of his former spouse. Thirdly, hold him accountable for his family responsibilities. Take his mother Wang Xiuying as the key entry point to investigate the long-term mental coercion and insults toward Qingyue during the marriage. Contact the Women's Federation and the neighborhood committee to record and monitor the situation. Fourth, issues of property and vehicles. Immediately initiate legal procedures to recover the actual contributions Qingyue made toward the down payment on the marital home and vehicle purchases before and after marriage. I have arranged the evidence and will transmit it immediately. Request the court to promptly undertake property preservation. The father issued directives one by one, clear, calm, yet with overwhelming force. Each sentence, like a blunt hammer, was about to smash Su Yang's already wavering world. Remember, father said finally, his voice cold, what I want is not only to make him lose his job and ruin his reputation. I want him to spit out everything he took from Qingyue, in full, with interest, leaving nothing behind. I want their family to pay a real, unbearable price for their greed and malice. Yes, Chief, carry out firmly, came the firm reply from the other end of the line. After hanging up, father walked back to the dining table and looked at me and my mother. Eat, someone will take care of the rest. You don't have to worry, Qingyue, your next task is to rest well, to restore both body and spirit. I'll shield you from the storm outside. I nodded heavily, my eyes stinging a little, but I forced back the tears. This is not the time for weakness, this is the time to draw strength and prepare to strike back. Meanwhile, at the other end of the city, Su Yongging had just experienced the longest, most torturous afternoon of his life. After being driven away by the guards of the compound, he had nowhere to go and dared not go home to face his mother and Lin Wanwan's questions. He could only drift on the street like a wandering spirit. His phone kept vibrating. Calls from his mother, calls from Lin Wanwan, and calls from a few so-called friends who usually act like brothers to him. He didn't answer any of them. In the end, he drove his car to a secluded spot by the river and slumped in the driver's seat, his mind a tangled mess. Suspension and investigation. He knew exactly what that would mean. In this system, once you're labeled with that, it's almost tantamount to the end of your political life, even if they couldn't find any major issues in the The future would be wrecked, and the best outcome would be to be reassigned to some quiet bureau and just ride out retirement. Moreover, he knew himself that he really couldn't withstand a meticulous probe, the irregularities in the company's accounts, the money he spent on Lin Wanwan. He used to think that hiding it from Shen Qingyue was flawless, but in the face of the organization's investigation power, it was probably like sifted through a sieve. Shen Qingyue, Shen Guodong, are they going to ruin him to death? Anger and fear were like two venomous snakes gnawing at his heart. No, he couldn't just sit and wait for death. He suddenly sat up straight and dialed Shen Qingyue's phone again. The line was dead. He tried dialing an old number Shen Qingyue had used before. It was a dead number, obviously. Shen Qingyue had completely severed every way he could contact her. Just as his agitation reached a point where he nearly wanted to smash the phone, a strange local landline number called in. He hesitated for a moment, then answered. "Hello, is this Mr. Su Yang?" The other party was a stranger male voice, courteous in tone, yet with a bureaucratic detachment. "I am. Who are you?" "Hello Mr. Su, we are from the Enforcement Bureau of the City Intermediate Court, regarding the division of property in the divorce agreement between you and Ms. Shen Qingyue. The Shen Qingyue side has filed a lawsuit over the ownership of the down payment for the related house and the funding for the vehicle, and has applied for property preservation. We are hereby formally notifying you that the property at your residence in XX community, Building X, No, XXX, and the vehicle with license plate XXXX have been legally seized, and all rights to changes of ownership and transactions are temporarily frozen. The relevant legal documents will be delivered to your household registration address or work unit as soon as possible. Please keep your communications open and cooperate with the subsequent legal procedures. Su Yang's brain buzzed, and a wave of darkness closed in before his eyes. A house, a car, seized as well. Shen Qingyue acted so fast. "Wait, that house belongs to my parents, the car is mine. How come she?" Su Yang shouted into the phone. "Mr. Su, please settle the dispute through legal channels. We are only acting according to the evidence provided by the applicant and the court's order to enforce preservation measures. If you have objections to the ruling, you may file a reconsideration within the statutory period or provide a guarantee. Goodbye." After speaking, the other side hung up the call cleanly. Su Yang held the phone, his body stiff, cold sweat instantly soaking through his back. The house, the car, these are the most tangible things he currently has to hold on to. If he loses even these, before he could digest the bad news, his phone rang again. This time it was a friend who usually helps him handle some gray accounts, in a panicked voice. "Brother Young, something happened. The tax bureau and the people suddenly came knocking. Our company is sealed. They say they'll audit the accounts for nearly 3 years. They also sealed the office computer and the safe and took them away. Brother Yang, what on earth is going on? Didn't you say there were people above you? This rush doesn't feel right." Su Yang only felt the world spin, his phone slipping from his palm and landing on the car floor mat with a dull thud. He leaned back against the seat, gasping for air. Yet the air seemed so thin it suffocated him. "It's all over. Everything is finished. The job, the house, the car, the company." Shen Guodong is determined to wipe him out. Not a scrap of a way out left for him. Not sure how long he had lay prone in the car, until night finally fell. Across the river, the lights formed a glittering yet icy ribbon, and Su Yang, like a walking corpse, restarted the car. He didn't know where to go. The home that he once regarded as a haven with Shen Qingyue, now occupied by Lin Wanwan and Wang Xiuying, had the courthouse seal might already be on the door. He didn't dare to go back. He drove aimlessly down the street, and finally, as if by some divine intervention, he ended up in front of the small apartment building where Shen Qingyue used to rent. He looked up at the dark window. A few hours ago, Shen Qingyue was here, calmly accepting his arrangement. A few hours later, he had fallen into the abyss, while Shen Qingyue, one could imagine, was safely staying in that deep, secluded mansion that he could never reach. Coldly watching his humiliation, the enormous gap and the unwillingness burned his internal organs like poisonous fire. Why can Shen Qingyue easily destroy everything of his, just because she has a good father? He won't give up. He must find her. There has to be a way. And at this moment, in the Shen family study, Father Shen Guodong had just received another round of reports. After listening, he only said, "Continue, proceed according to plan. Let him first taste what it means to hit a dead end. The night outside grew darker. The next morning, Soo-young woke up in the car. His neck was stiff, his body sore, and a thin layer of mist clung to the car window. He sat up dazedly, taking more than 10 seconds to realize where he was and recall those nightmare-like things that happened yesterday. The phone had long since powered off due to a dead battery. He fumbled to find the car charger, and during the tens of seconds it took to boot up, his heartbeat hammered like a drum. When the screen lit up, it was instantly flooded with countless missed calls and text notices. The most were from his mother Wang Xiuying and Lin Wanwan, plus a few colleagues from his unit, even two from the small leaders he normally had to curry favor with. There wasn't a single message from Shen Qingyue, none. He first opened the message from his unit's immediate supervisor, Lu Chufa, one line only. "Come to the unit immediately, we will handle your final disciplinary decision." Final disciplinary decision. It wasn't a suspension investigation, but a direct punishment. How could they decide so quickly? Soo-young's hands trembled so badly he could hardly hold onto his phone. He didn't dare delay any longer, and he didn't have time to go home to change clothes or wash up. He drove straight to the unit. Along the way, countless possibilities flashed through his mind: a warning, a demerit, demotion, dismissal. Each one sent a chill down his spine. Arriving at the unit, the atmosphere was more eerie than yesterday. Everyone hurried about, and the looks they gave him were no longer curiosity or sympathy, but a kind of wary indifference mixed with a hint of contempt. He steeled himself and walked to Lu Chufa's office door, knocking. "Come in," Lu Chu's voice rang out. Soo-young pushed the door open and walked in. In the office, besides Lu Chu, there was a deputy director from the personnel department and an official from the Discipline Inspection Commission. The three of them wore solemn expressions. On Lu Chu's desk lay a red-headed document. Li Chu, Zhang Director. Soo-young forced a faint smile, nodding and bowing. Lu Chu did not invite him to sit. He picked up the document directly and began reading aloud with a cold expression. "Comrade Soo-young, after preliminary verification by the unit's Discipline Inspection Commission and joint investigation by relevant higher authorities, it is confirmed that during the period of your marriage you have maintained improper romantic relationships with others for a long time, and have fathered a child outside of marriage. Your lifestyle is seriously corrupt and morally degenerate, causing extremely bad social impact. At the same time, you are suspected of using your official position and marital relationships to illicitly profit in economic activities. The specifics are still under further investigation." Every word felt like an ice spike, piercing hard into Soo-young's ears. His complexion was pale, his lips trembled as he tried to defend himself, but his throat seemed blocked. In light of the above facts being clear and the influence being extremely bad, Lu Chu continued to recite, voice cold, "After study by the and with the approval of the supervising higher authorities, we hereby issue the following disciplinary actions. First, expulsion from the Communist Party. Second, administrative demotion, from department-level cadre to staff member. Third, transfer away from the original post, to report to the Logistics Service Center from today onward to engage in general administrative duties. The disciplinary decision takes effect immediately. If you have any objection to this decision, you may file an appeal with the relevant department within 30 days of receiving the decision." After he finished reading, the office fell into dead silence. Expulsion from the party, administrative removal from position, demotion to staff member, dispatched to the Logistics Center. Soo-young felt dizziness as his vision blackened, his legs went weak, and he nearly collapsed on the spot. This was not just the end of his prospects, it meant all of his more than a decade of hard work and management had been completely undone, and worse still, the Logistics Service Center, that place is for the elderly and exiled personnel. His life, finished, completely finished. "Comrade Soo-young," Deputy Director Lee of the Personnel Office began, in a calm tone, "these are the disciplinary decision documents. Please sign to acknowledge receipt. Your office belongings have been organized and will be delivered to the Logistics Service Center shortly. Your office access has been revoked. Please report to Director Wang at the Logistics Service Center before you leave today." Director Zhang of the Disciplinary Committee also added, "The investigation into economic issues is still ongoing. Please continue to cooperate with the investigation during this period and do not leave the city without a valid reason. You must be available on request." Su-yang didn't know how he came to hold that heavy disciplinary decision, nor how he signed his name on it. The handwriting was crooked, just like his collapsing life at this moment. He wandered out of Lu Chu's office in a daze, the corridor empty, with everyone tacitly avoiding this area. He didn't report to the logistics service center. Instead, he drifted out of the building like a wandering soul. The autumn sunshine was nice, but it didn't feel warm at all on his skin. He stood on the steps, watching the traffic and crowds on the street, people coming and going. For the first time, he felt that the world was so bustling, yet it had nothing to do with him. The phone rang again, this time Lin Wanwan. He numbly answered. Brother Yang, why did you only answer the phone now? I'm driving myself crazy. Lin Wanwan's voice cracked with crying, but more of it was panic and anger. Brother Yang, something big has happened. This morning several people came to our house, claiming their from the court and some bureau, and pasted seals on the door. They said the house and car have been seized. Mom argued with them and nearly got pulled away. What is going on? Didn't you say this was just a fake divorce, and once the child is born it would be fine? Why would the house be sealed? Where will we live in the future? Su-yang listened to Lin Wanwan's rapid-fire questioning, and the last remaining sense of guilt and responsibility he felt toward her and their child was worn away by the harsh, piercing voice. Where will he live? He didn't even know where he should stay tonight. And there's more, Brother Yang. Lin Wanwan's voice lowered a bit, but grew more urgent. Just now your mom took a call, said some relative from our hometown called, saying you were fired by your unit. Is it true? Brother Yang, say something. Even the hometown knows. The news travels fast. Su-yang pulled out a smile uglier than crying, and roared hoarsely into the phone. It's true, all of it. I've been demoted, the house and car have been frozen. I'm doomed. Are you satisfied now? After shouting, he slammed the phone shut and directly blocked Lin Wanwan's number. Then he saw his mother Wang Shuiying's dozen or so missed calls. He hesitated for a moment and did not call back. Right now he didn't want to see anyone, didn't want to hear anyone's words. He sat on a long street bench for a long time, until the sun began to set, then dragged his leaden legs toward his car. He had just opened the car door when the phone rang again, a strange local number. He now dreaded unfamiliar numbers, but he answered nonetheless. Hey, is this Su-yang? A somewhat familiar middle-aged female voice. It's me. Who are you? Me, you Auntie Lu. I live downstairs from your place. The other party spoke anxiously. You come back and take a look. Your mom and your wife. No, with that Miss Lin, they're arguing like crazy at home. We down here can hear the smashing and banging clearly. Your mom is cursing horribly, calling people unlucky stars and con artists. Oh, it's a total mess. You all better deal with it quickly, or we'll have to call the police. Su-yang's head buzzed as if a hive of bees, a surge of malice rushing to the crown of his head. Home, is that still home? It's already a battleground sealed off by an investigation, but he cannot ignore it. If it really escalates to call in the police, bringing in the police would be even uglier. He grit his teeth, started the car, and drove toward that home that might already be sealed, thick with smoke and foul air. As soon as he stepped downstairs, he saw a few nosy neighbors gathered at the entrance of the building, pointing at the upstairs. When they saw him coming, their eyes showed mixed emotions, sympathy, curiosity, and more than anything, a kind of indifference at the sight of the commotion. Aunt Lu was among them. She shot him a glance and whispered, "It hasn't stopped yet. Hurry up and go upstairs." Su-yang's face darkened as he hurried up the stairs. Just as he reached the third-floor doorway, he heard sharp, piercing cries and the loud crashes of things being broken inside. You bad luck charm, bad omen. I knew you weren't a good thing. You deceived my son, deceived our family's money. Now my son's lost his job, and our house and car are gone too. It's all your fault. You owe my son a future. You owe our family a home. This was Wang Shuiying's voice, hoarse with fury. Is it my fault? Obviously you're useless son. He made a mess of things himself. He has no ability to wipe his own but clean. What does that have to do with me? If your family hadn't begged me to have a child, would I have looked down on Su-yang? Now something happened and you blame me. The house and car are in your son's name. The money he spent, what does that have to do with me? I am still carrying the Su family seed for you. Is this how you treat me? Lin Wanwan's voice was no longer the gentle tone of the past, but sharp and mean, with a desperate stubbornness. Su family's seed. Who knows if it's really Su family's seed? You shameless vixen, going around with others outside. Don't think I don't know. If something happens to my grandson, I'll fight you to the death. Wang Shuiying said anything that came to mind. Old lecher, what did you say? How dare you smear me? I'll tear your mouth apart." Then came an even more violent scuffle and sounds of things breaking. Su-young felt his blood boil and suddenly pulled out his keys. Fortunately, the court had sealed off the area with a no-trade seal. The door lock hadn't been changed yet. He opened the door and charged in. The sight before him took his breath away. The living room was a mess. The coffee table overturned, water glasses, fruit plates, and the remote control lying shattered on the floor. His mother, Wang Xiuying, was disheveled, sitting on the ground, banging her knees as she cried and wailed. Lin Wanwan was not much better off either. Her hair was tangled, there seemed to be scratches on her face, she was visibly pregnant, gripping a broken-ear porcelain rabbit figurine in her hand, and she was angrily glaring at Wang Xiuying. "All of you, stop right now," Su-young roared. The two of them looked at him at the same time. Wang Xiuying, as if seeing a savior, crawled over on all fours and hugged his legs. "Son, you've come back. Look at this shameless woman. She's going to tear this family apart. She even wants to hit me. Why is my life so hard?" Lin Wanwan sneered, threw the porcelain rabbit remnants to the ground, patted her belly, and coldly looked at Su-young. "Su-young, you came back at the perfect time. Today we'll settle this once and for all. Your mother said the house and car are gone, and you've lost your job too. Are you telling the truth?" Su-young looked at the two women before him, one his mother, the other the woman who had betrayed her marriage and gotten pregnant for him. At this moment, they resembled two fighting beasts, tearing his last bit of dignity and peace to shreds. He felt an unprecedented weariness and disgust. "It's true," he spoke hoarsely, "there are disciplinary actions, dismissal, demotion, and reassignment to logistics. The houses and cars were involved, Shinchinua sued, and the court has seized them." "What?" Wang Xiuying screamed. "That little b*** Shinchinua, how dare she?" "Yang Yang, go beg her, go kneel before her, you 3-year marriage. She can't be so heartless." Lin Wanwan's face also turned completely pale, no longer feigning weakness, but real panic. "The house is gone, the car is gone, Su-yang's job is gone too. What should she do? What about the child in her belly?" "Find her," Su-young sneered. "I can't even get into her family's front gate. I can't reach her by phone. Now she has that top official father backing her, eager to kill me. Are you satisfied? Is this the result you're forcing me toward? Divorce, and me marrying what she wants?" He pointed at Lin Wanwan, his eyes burning red. Lin Wanwan was startled by the hatred in his eyes, instinctively shielding her belly, then straightened her chest and screamed, "Su-young, what are you yelling at me for? Initially you couldn't control yourself. You said you wanted to take responsibility for me, give me and the child a home. Now something goes wrong and you want to push everything onto me. I tell you, there's no way. This child is yours. You have to take responsibility to the end. Even if we sleep on the street, you must find a shelter for me and the child." "Responsible? What am I supposed to be responsible for?" Su-young roared. "I'm barely keeping myself afloat, lost my job, lost my money, maybe even in debt. How do you want me to take responsibility?" "I don't care." Lin Wanwan pushed herself to the limit. "Anyway, I've decided on you. If you dare not take responsibility for us, I'll go to your workplace and cause a scene. I'll go to your hometown and cause a scene. Let everyone know that you, Su-young, are a man who starts affairs and abandons them, a bastard who doesn't care for his own flesh and blood. Let me see how you can still behave like a man in the future." Wang Xiuying was furious when she heard it again. "How dare you, you shameless hag, you still dare to threaten my son. I'll fight you to the end." She reached out again to pounce. "Enough," Su-young roared with all his might, his voice so loud that the window glass hummed. He suddenly kicked the overturned tea table with a hard shove, making a tremendous crash. Wang Xiuying and Lin Wanwan were both frightened into silence by his ferocious display. Su-young, panting, his eyes bloodshot, looked at the messy living room, then at his mother's grotesque face, then at Lin Wanwan, who was pregnant with a sneer in her eyes. All of it seemed ridiculous and nauseating to him. Is this the happiness he gained by betraying his marriage and abandoning Shinchinua? Is this the family bliss brought by his mother's cherished golden grandson and good daughter-in-law? Huge regret and despair overwhelmed him like a rising tide, but at this moment, more than anything there was a reckless, ferocious impulse. "Make noise, keep arguing," he rasped with a sobbing tone, "tear this family apart completely. It's not our home for long anyway. Wait and see, perhaps tomorrow the court will come to seize the property, then we'll all sleep on the streets. How lively that will be." After finishing, he no longer looked at them, he turned around, stumbling as he rushed out of The suffocating house, aggressively shutting behind him the cries, curses, and quarrels that rose once more from inside. As he went downstairs, those neighbors hadn't left yet, watching his embarrassed fleeing figure and muttering softly, "TSK TSK, what a sin this is, why bother with crooked paths when life is fine as it is." I've heard that his original wife comes from a powerful family, guess he's hit a hard wall this time. Su-young scrambled into the car like a fugitive, angrily pounding the steering wheel. Tears finally welled up uncontrollably, not from sadness, but from extreme anger, resentment, and the fear of having no way out. Shinchinyue, all this is because of you. A crazy thought began to slowly take root in his desperate heart. When Brother Chin parked the car at the familiar gate of the community, I felt a faint daze. A few days ago, I was still the mistress here, now, coming again. I am an outsider, no, here to collect debts. Miss, the lawyer and the notary from the notary office have arrived and are waiting in the property management office, Brother Chin whispered. In the front passenger seat sat a young court clerk in uniform, sent by the court to cooperate with the subsequent procedures after property preservation. I nodded, took a deep breath, and opened the door to get out. Today I didn't adorn myself much, just a simple off-white pantsuit, hair neatly tied back, with only a touch of lipstick to brighten my complexion, but I know that my eyes and aura at this moment are completely different from the gentle, restrained Mrs. Su of the past 3 years. Lawyer Li and Notary Wang soon emerged from the property management office, holding thick file bags. Lawyer Li is a capable middle-aged woman, who nodded at me. Miss Shin, all legal documents and legal grounds are prepared, based on the evidence we submitted and the court's preliminary review. Today's main purpose is to confirm the disputed property on-site and formally notify the relevant parties to initiate the collection process. Sorry to trouble you, I said. You're welcome. Lawyer Li adjusted his glasses. The other party might be more agitated. Miss Shinyu, I'm fine, I cut her off. Calm, what has to be faced, must be faced. Our group walked toward that apartment building. At this time of day, many elderly residents strolling or returning from buying groceries in the neighborhood noticed our group's momentum, especially the court officers in uniform and the lawyers and notaries carrying briefcases, and immediately cast curious, probing looks. Some recognized me and started whispering, isn't that Su Yang's wife on the 3rd floor? Haven't seen her for days." "What wife? I heard she's left him, it's caused a big fuss. This stance, is she here to demand the house? TSK TSK, looks like we're in for a show." I ignored the gossip and headed straight to the building's entrance. Brother Chin stepped forward to press the doorbell. After a long while, an impatient and vigilant voice came from inside. "Who is it?" "Ms. Wang Xiuying, we are from the court and the notary office, regarding the property dispute between Mr. Su Yang and Ms. Shinchinyue. Please open the door and cooperate with the investigation." The bailiff spoke into the door intercom in an official tone. There was a few seconds of silence inside, followed by a flurry of anxious rustling and a lowered argument. The door click opened. It was Su Yang who opened the door. He looked more haggard than a few days ago, with a scruffy beard, sunken eye sockets, and still wearing yesterday's wrinkled clothes. Seeing me standing outside the door and the stern-looking officials behind me, his pupils constricted, and a look of surprise and embarrassment flashed across his face, followed by restrained, shameful anger. "Shinchinyue, you bring so many people here to do what?" He blocked the doorway, shouting harshly but with a tremor in his voice, "Mr. Su, please step aside. We are executing our official duties lawfully." The bailiff stepped forward, his voice not loud, but with undeniable authority. Wang Xiuying also rushed out of the house. Seeing me, she immediately screeched insults. "Ha, Shinchinyue, you heartless b**********, you still dare to come? Haven't you ruined our family enough? You've ruined my son's job, and now you want to grab the house? I tell you, no way, this house belongs to the Su family. It has nothing to do with you. Get out." As she spoke, she attempted to pounce, but Brother Chin stepped forward and blocked her with his body, seamless and unobtrusive. Although Brother Chin didn't say a word, his tall figure and cold gaze made the willful Wang Xiuying falter. "Ms. Wang, please stay calm." Lawyer Li opened the briefcase and took out several documents. "This is a copy of the house purchase contract, bank transfer records, and related witness testimonies. The evidence shows that for the property located at X building, no, XXX in this community, in the down payment of 650,000, 400,000 was MS, Shinchinua's premarital personal property and post-marriage income. Legally, this portion should be treated as a claim against Mr. Suyang and his parents, or to be returned during asset division. Now, MS, Shinchinua formally asserts this portion of the rights. Here is the court-issued property preservation ruling, copy. And the lawyer's letter we issued. Lawyer Li handed over the documents. Suyang didn't take them. Wang Xiuying snatched them away and flipped through carelessly. She could not read much, but the clear numbers and the red seal on it made her more panicked. What debt claim? What reimbursement? This money was voluntarily given by Shinchinua for our family's expenses. It's betrothal money. It's to show respect to our elders. How could there be a principle of having to return what's given? You're extorting us, MS. Wang. The notary Mr. Wang spoke, his tone gentle yet firm. Whether it is a voluntary gift depends on the specific agreement and evidence at the time. Currently, the evidence chain provided by Miss Shin's side shows that the transfer of funds is not of a gratuitous nature. Of course, if you have evidence proving it is a gift, such as a gift agreement, chat records, or recordings explicitly indicating a gift, you can submit them in court. We are here today mainly to provide on-site notification and to fix the evidence. At this moment, Lin Wanwan also stood with her belly protruding, timidly moving to the doorway. She saw me, her eyes complex, filled with resentment, jealousy, and also a trace of fear that was hard to notice. She tugged at Su Yang's sleeve and whispered, Yangji, what's really going on? Will the house really be taken away? Su Yang let go of her hand, his face ashen, staring at me with dead seriousness. Shinchinua, do you have to be so absolute? Won't you recall a shred of old feeling? I almost laughed out loud. I looked at his face twisted by anger and anxiety, and spoke slowly, my voice clear enough for every eavesdropping neighbor in the corridor to hear. Su Yang, is there any old feeling left between us? You used a fake divorce to get me to sign, attempting to leave me with nothing. You took my money to support another woman, renting her a place, buying designer goods, letting her get pregnant. It was you and your mother who, thinking I couldn't have children, openly treated me as a rag to be discarded at will. Now you talk to me about old feelings. The hallway fell silent, only my cold voice echoing. Neighbors' eyes grew more pointed. Su Yang's face alternated between red and white, exposed and humiliated by my public exposure, indignant to death. You slander me. Is it slandering with a blood-stained mouth? You know it in your heart. The law will also clarify. I was too lazy to argue with him. Turning to Lawyer Li, please continue. Lawyer Li nodded, then pulled out a document. Furthermore, regarding the Audi vehicle with license plate XXXXXX, the purchase price was 800,000, of which 500,000 came from MS, Shinchinua's personal property before marriage, and 300,000 came from her contribution to the marital property after marriage. The car is registered under Mr. Su Yang's name, but the actual funding situation is clear. Miss Shin requests to assert the ownership of this vehicle and recover her contributed portion. Here are the related purchase contract and payment vouchers. A car, you all still want to snatch the car. Wang Xiuying flared up again, not to snatch, but to take back what should have belonged to me. I looked at Su Yang, word for word. Su Yang, in these 3 years, you've been driving a car bought with my money, carrying Lin Wanwan, using it in various occasions. Have you ever thought that more than half of this car belongs to me? Shinchinua. Su Yang was left speechless by my question, his forehead throbbing with veins. Also, I swept a glance at the room's faintly visible mess. Most of the furniture and appliances in this house were bought with my salary. I've already made a list. Since you're here today, let's check and confirm everything at once. If it belongs to me, I'll take it. If it belongs to you, you can keep it. Lin Wanwan, upon hearing this, instinctively protected her bulging belly, her face turning pale. She probably finally realized that not only was Su Yang's future gone, but he might also lose the sheltering nest and a means of getting around. Shinchinua, you don't go too far. Su Yang was completely angered. He took a sudden forward step, as if to grab me. Do you think you can do whatever you want just because your father supports you? I tell you, if you push me to the limit, I will do anything. Brother Chen and the bailiff immediately stepped in front of me. Brother Chen's eyes instantly sharpened like a blade. Mr. Su, please watch your words and actions, and do not threaten the party involved. Otherwise, we will take the necessary measures. Su-young was daunted by Brother Chen's aura, his fists clenched so tightly that he could not dare to move again. Su-young, I said, watching him through Chen-ji's presence, his eyes bloodshot from anger and despair, and a chill spread through me. I didn't force you, you did it to yourself, step by step, to this day, from the moment you chose deceit, betrayal, and scheming against me. You should have realized such a day might come. Not all heartless deeds can go unseen by gods and ghosts, I signaled to Lawyer Li. Lawyer Li understood and said to Su-young and Wang Xiuying, according to the procedure, we need to inventory and confirm the property within the house claimed by Ms. Shen Qingyue, and take photos for evidence. Please cooperate. If you do not cooperate, we will record it in the file as a disadvantage in the subsequent court proceedings. Wang Xiuying still wanted to throw a tantrum, but Su-young grabbed her. Su-ying's chest rose violently, his eyes fixed on me, a gaze that seemed ready to swallow me whole, but in the end, he still slackened his grip, turned to the side, and stepped aside from the door. He knew that resisting would be useless and would only make things worse. Lawyer Li, the notary, and the bailiff walked in, and began to count, take photos, and record according to the checklist. Brother Chen stayed at the door, guarding vigilantly. I stood outside the door, not going in. The space inside once carried many of my illusory hopes and real pains, now it remains only a mess. And a repulsive stench. I no longer want to set foot there. The counting process was not peaceful. Wang Xiuying occasionally burst into howls and curses, accusing us of ransacking the house. Lin Wanwan hid in the bedroom, softly sobbing, not sure if she was scared or acting. Su-young stood stiff as a wooden post in the living room, his face gray and his eyes hollow. Neighbors gathered around the stairs, watching with great interest and discussing animatedly. I really didn't expect that Su-young, who looks all proper on the outside, is such a toad in the sewer behind the scenes. Exactly, a kept man who cheats, serves him right. That woman's belly is already that big. TSK, what a sin. Still as formidable as the original match, looking quiet and gentle, but when she moves, she's ruthless, and that's good. These words drifted into Su-ying's ears, making his head hang lower and his body tremble slightly. Whether from anger or embarrassment, he wasn't sure, after more than an hour or so. The checks were basically complete. Lawyer Li came out and nodded at me. Miss Shen, the main items have been confirmed and recorded. This is a copy of the list. Please take a look. I took it, scanned it briefly. Nothing but furniture and appliances, not worth much money, but what mattered was the procedure and the attitude. Additionally, Lawyer Li looked at Su-young. Mr. Su, regarding the ownership dispute over the property and the vehicle, we have formally commenced legal proceedings. Until a final court judgment is issued, the property must not undergo any form of disposal, mortgage, or rental. The vehicle will also remain in your custody for the time being, but cannot be transferred or damaged. Otherwise, you will bear corresponding legal liability. Su-young lowered his head and made no reply. Wang Xiuying suddenly rushed over, pointing at my nose and scolding, Shen Qingyue, you wicked woman. You deserve to die. You cut off our family's future. You'll reap what you sow. I watched her distorted face twisted by anger, and suddenly found it ridiculous. I spoke lightly. Wang Xiuying, if back then you had shown me even a fraction of sincerity and respect, rather than treating me as a breeding tool and an ATM, today this situation would never have happened. Retribution. I think what you are enduring now is the retribution you deserve. After I finished speaking, I no longer looked at any of them, and I turned to Lawyer Li and the others, saying, let's go. Wait, Su-young suddenly croaked. I halted in my tracks, not turning back. Shen Qingyue, his voice trembled with a sense of desperation. You really aren't leaving me any way out, for the sake of our 3 years as husband and wife, 3 years of marriage. Now you recall the bond of husband and wife. I slowly turned around, looked at him, and spoke calmly. Su-young, I gave you a way out, you chose not to take it. When you decided to deceive me in the dirtiest way and trample me, you sealed your own fate with your own hands. Now the law gives you a way out. See you in court. I paused, adding one more line in a low voice but with the force of a final hammer, smashing all his fantasies. Also, don't come looking for my father again, or try to harass me in any way. You cannot bear the consequences. Take care of yourself. Ignoring the momentary ashen pallor on his face, I turned and walked straight ahead. Under Chen Ji's protection, under the neighbors' complex gazes, in the company of Lawyer Lee and others, step by step down the stairs, away from this place that had completely reshaped me and utterly killed my hope. Sitting in the car, I closed the door, shutting out everything outside. I leaned back against the seat and exhaled a long breath. There was no surge of excitement or revenge as I had imagined, only a dust-settling fatigue, and a sense of ease at completely cutting off the past. "Miss, are you going home?" Brother Chin asked. I'm going home," I said. The car left the neighborhood. In the rearview mirror, the gray apartment building grew more distant. I know that today's episode of public humiliation and property reclaimants is only the beginning. Su Yang and his family, especially Su Yang, will not resign themselves to fate. I can clearly see that final, all-or-nothing madness in his eyes, but I'm not afraid. Everything that should be taken back, I won't miss a single thing. What they owe me, they won't be able to dodge even a penny. The calm before the storm has ended. What follows will be a true, raging gale, and I am already prepared to face it all. The days seem to pass quietly. For a few days, I spent most of my time at home, reading, staying with my mother to tend the flowers and plants, and occasionally playing chess with my father. My father swore never to bring up the matter about Su Young again, but I knew that everything was progressing according to plan. The calm before the storm is often the most oppressive. Over at Su Yang's place, there really wasn't any calm for long. That afternoon, I was sitting in a wicker chair in the sunshine room reading when my phone buzzed. It was a short message from Brother Chin. "Miss, there's a disturbance over there. Su Yang borrowed a usurious loan, and the debt collector has come to the door." I put the book down and replied with a single word, As expected, Su Yang's so-called business has a big hole. He used to patch one hole by tearing down another, even using my money to fill it. Now all accounts are under close watch, funding sources cut off, and the creditors lurking in the shadows naturally surface. And to make matters worse, trouble always comes in droves these days. Su Yang is living a life that's worse than hell. Exiled to the logistics service center, he's doing tasks like organizing the warehouse, moving odds and ends, and answering to others, his former colleagues, now his superiors. Look at him with unabashed scorn and schadenfreude. He drifts through each day in a daze. And after work he doesn't dare return to that home sealed with red tape and an oppressive atmosphere. He often spends the nights in his car or in cheap internet cafes. The relationship between Wang Xiuying and Lin Wanwan had cooled to freezing point. After we left that day, the two of them erupted into an even more violent quarrel, almost smashing everything in the house. Wang Xiuying confirmed that Lin Wanwan was a jinx, bad luck to the husband and ruin to the family, and she even directed vicious suspicions toward the child in Lin Wanwan's womb. Lin Wanwan tore off her meek facade entirely, accusing Wang Xiuying of being senile and snobbish, and that she had raised her son into a waste. The two lived under the same roof but hardly spoke, each cooking for herself, and the atmosphere was stiffer than that of enemies. The last bit of Su Yang Kali's money was almost gone after paying the electricity, water, and gas bills and buying some essential nutritional supplements for Lin Wanwan. He began trying to contact those former brothers-in-arms who used to do business with him, hoping to borrow some money to get by, or to see if there were any other possible avenues, but the calls either couldn't go through, or once connected the other party would stammer and avoid it in every possible way, and finally simply blocked him. The wall collapses and everyone pushes forward. He finally truly understands it. Just when he was cornered, even starting to consider secretly selling the still somewhat valuable watch on his wrist, the real Death Seeker showed up. That night, with nowhere else to go, he reluctantly returned home. The house was deathly quiet. Wang Xiuying locked herself in the second bedroom. Lin Wanwan lay on her back on the main bed. He sank onto the only still fairly intact old sofa in the living room, feeling utterly spent in body and soul. Suddenly, a loud, rough banging on the door rang out, accompanied by several men's crude shouts. "Su Young, open the door. We know you're in there. Don't pretend to be dead." Su Yang shivered and sat up, his heart pounding. This voice, it was someone from Brother Biao's side. The 50,000 high-interest loan he had borrowed was obtained through a lender called Brother Biao. The interest was terrifyingly high. He had been using business proceeds and other diverted funds to pay the interest, while the principal hadn't moved at all. In the past 2 months, due to various overwhelming matters, he had even stopped paying the interest. "Su Yang, if you don't open the door now, I'm going to take the door off for you." The banging grew louder, and the whole door was shaking. Wang Xiuying and Lin Wanwan were also startled. Wang Xiuying opened the door to the secondary bedroom, her face filled with terror. "Who is it?" In the middle of the night, Lin Wanwan, also clutching her stomach, walked to the bedroom door with a pale face. Fearfully looking at Su Yang's face turned pale, cold sweat instantly broke out. He knew what these people were like. When pressed, they would do anything. Yang, is it? Are they here for debt collection? Wang Shuiying reacted too, her voice trembling. How much do you owe outside? Su Yang had no time to answer her. The shouting and banging on the door outside grew louder and more frantic. The neighbors were probably disturbed as well, but no one dared to come out to inquire. He knew he couldn't escape. He could only tremble as he walked over and opened the door a slit. 3 burly, thick-necked men with coarse faces stand at the doorway, wearing tight black t-shirts, their exposed arms covered in tattoos. The leader is a bald man, with a cigarette clenched in his mouth, squinting as he sizes up Su Yang. Biao, where's Brother Biao? Su Yang's voice trembled. Brother Biao's not free. This little money, our brothers will handle it. The bald man pushed the door open with such force that Su Yang staggered backward several steps. The 3 of them filed in, and with a reverse hand, he slammed the door shut. Wang Shuiying screamed in fright and hid behind Su Yang. Lin Wanwan also held onto the wall, clutching her abdomen, not daring to breathe. The bald man scanned the filthy living room with a sneer and said, "Oh, Boss Su, has this place been burgled or robbed? Not bad at all. Brother, there's a word to say. Give me a few more days. I'm trying to figure something out." Su Yang forced a smile, his waist almost touching the ground from bowing. "Give you a few more days." The bald man walked to the edge of the sofa, sat down loudly, and the 2 other men stood on either side behind him like gate gods. "Su Yang, you know Biao Ji's rules. Interest can be delayed, but the principal due must be paid. You didn't pay the interest last month, and this month you haven't seen a single hair of it. What, you think if you hide, everything will be fine? It's not hiding. It's really hard," Su Yang said, sweating profusely. I ran into some trouble at work, and now I'm short on cash. I don't care how tight your squeeze is." The bald man slapped the coffee table hard. Fortunately the table was turned over, or it would have been smashed, startling Wang Shuiying so she trembled again. Black on white, signed and sealed, 500,000, principal plus interest, a total of 687,000 to date, Brother Biao said. "Considering you used to be somewhat sensible, I'll wipe off the change. 688,000, today, I must see the money. 680,000. Su Yang's vision went black. He can't even come up with 6,800 right now. 680,000. Yang, when did you borrow so much money? Wang Shuiying cried out in a sharp voice, not caring about being afraid anymore. "Mom, you don't have to interfere," Su Yang shouted in frustration, then turned to the bald man, nearly kneeling. "Brothers, I really don't have that much money. Where am I supposed to find it? Could we discuss it some more? On installment? Is installment okay?" "Installment." The bald man spat out a ring of smoke, half smiling. "All right, according to the new rules, installments are allowed. First pay 200,000 as the initial payment, and the rest, with 5% interest per month. 5% interest per month. How is that different from robbery?" Su Yang's legs went weak, nearly collapsing. "Can't come up with the money." The bald man put away his feigned smile, his eyes turning fierce. "Su Yang, don't bite the hand that feeds you. You know Brother Biao's methods. Today you either repay the debt, or..." He exchanged a glance, and a man behind took a step forward, grabbing Su Yang by the collar and lifting him up as if he were a chick. Another man drew a gleaming dagger from his waist, weighing it casually in his hand, and his gaze swept unkindly over Su Yang, then over Wang Shuiying, who was trembling with fear, and Lin Wanwan, whose face was as pale as paper. "Either leave some parts behind, or..." The man holding the dagger paused his gaze on Lin Wanwan's protruding belly, then revealed a cruel smile. "And make your family learn a little lesson too." "No, don't touch my grandson." Wang Shuiying was terrified out of her wits, rushing forward to stop him, only to be shoved aside by the man, tumbling to the ground. Lin Wanwan, seeing the dagger and the man's malicious eyes, and hearing the words "family members" and "learn a lesson," a gigantic fear seized her at once. She only felt her belly suddenly wrench, a severe, unbearable cramps rushing through her, and she let out a painful scream, sliding down the wall to the floor, warm liquid seeping between her legs. Blood. Wang Shuiying, sitting on the ground, happened to see it and screamed. Su Yang was also stunned by this sudden turn of events. The man grabbing Su Yang paused for a moment and released his hold. The bald man frowned, glanced at Lin Wanwan's pained moans and the dark red liquid rapidly spreading beneath her, and cursed. "Damn, that's really bad luck, brother." The man with the dagger was also a bit nervous. They collected debts, but causing a death, especially a pregnant woman's death, would bring a lot of trouble. Stop staring and call an ambulance 120. Wang Xiuying stood up and rushed to Lin Wanwan's side. This time she was truly frightened and flustered. No matter how much she disliked Lin Wanwan, that baby in her belly was the Su family's grandson after all. Su Yang only then came to realize, scrambling to find his phone, his fingers trembling as he dialed 120. The bald man stood up, casting a disdainful glance at the chaotic scene, coldly saying to Su Yang, today you're lucky, but this debt won't end. 3 days, prepare the money, otherwise, next time we come, we won't be half as polite as we are today. Let's go. The three hurriedly left, and even thoughtfully helped them by closing the door. Inside, only Lin Wanwan's painful moans, Wang Xiuying's frightened cries, Su Ying's heavy panting, and the voice of the 120 operator asking for the address remained. Ambulances arrived very quickly. When Lin Wanwan was being carried onto the stretcher, she was in so much pain she nearly fainted, and the bleeding beneath her was shocking. Wang Xiuying got on the vehicle too, crying loudly all the way. Su Yang also wanted to go, but was stopped by the doctor. There isn't room on the car. Family members should drive along on their own. Su Yang could only run to start the car. When he finally managed to start the vehicle in a flurry and followed the ambulance to the hospital, Lin Wanwan had already been pushed into the emergency room. Wang Xiuying sat on a bench outside the emergency room, dazed and at a loss, repeatedly muttering, "My grandson, my precious grandson." Su Yang leaned against the cold wall, gradually sitting down on the floor, his hands clutching his head. The threats of high interest loans, Lin Wanwan's sudden premature delivery and heavy bleeding, the fear of the unknown outcome, and the despair about his own situation, all the emotions tangled together, nearly driving him insane. Time passed second by second, each moment as long as a year. I don't know how long later, the emergency room door opened, a doctor stepped out, removed his mask, and his expression was somewhat grave. "Who are Lin Wanwan's family members?" Wang Xiuying and Su Yang rushed over immediately. "Doctor, how is my grandson?" Wang Xiuying asked anxiously. The doctor looked at them and said in a routine manner, "The mother was brought in fairly timely. After resuscitation, she is temporarily out of danger." Wang Xiuying and Su Yang exhaled a sigh of relief. The doctor continued, "However, due to severe fright and stimulation, the placenta accreta occurred, triggering massive bleeding and fetal distress. The baby was premature, only 32 weeks, with a very light birth weight and underdeveloped lungs. He is currently under observation in the neonatal intensive care unit, NICU. The condition is not very stable, and he needs to be on a ventilator. Also," the doctor paused, looking at Su Yang, "because of the prematurity and hypoxia, the baby may have some long-term health risks, such as problems with neurological development, which will require long-term follow-up. You all need to be mentally prepared." A trace of color drained from Wang Xiuying's face instantly. She gripped the doctor's arm. Doctor, what are you saying? My grandson, what will happen to him? Will he go dumb?" "Now is not the time to discuss these. We need to see how treatment and recovery proceed." The doctor withdrew his hand. "The mother also needs to be observed. Please go and complete the hospitalization procedures and pay in advance. The costs on the baby's side are higher. The NICU charges can reach tens of thousands per day. Please prepare as soon as possible. 10,000 a day, and long-term treatment could affect intellectual development." Wang Xiuying's legs gave way. She sat heavily on the ground, and began to howl and cry, "My goodness, my precious grandson, how are we going to live now? It's that ominous star that brings misfortune. It's all because of her. She's a bad omen. She cursed my son, and now she's cursing my grandson. Why is my life so miserable?" she cried out, suddenly climbed up, and rushed in front of Su Yang, who was still stunned, and slapped him several times, beating and cursing. "It's all you, it's you, you good for nothing. Life was fine, but you just had to provoke that fox spirit. Now look, you've lost your job, your house, and you've piled up a mountain of debt. You've made a sickly grandson. Do you want to drive me to death? I shouldn't have let you marry Shen Qingyue in the first place, and I definitely shouldn't have let you get involved with Lin Wanwan, you prodigal son, coward." Su Yang was slapped and tilted his head to the side, his face burning with pain, but his heart was numb. He watched his mother's hysterical state, listened to her coarse insults, and thought of the uncertain, precarious preterm baby in the NICU, and the looming $680,000 high-interest loan due in 3 days. His vision went black, his throat turning sweet, and with a loud wow, he spat out a mouthful of sour water tinged with blood. The world before his eyes collapsed and spun. Finally sinking into total darkness, he fell backward rigidly, the back of his head banging against the cold hard floor tiles with a dull thud, completely losing consciousness. Yang, son, Wang Xiuying's cries and scoldings ceased abruptly, turning into a frightened scream. Doctor, doctor, someone come quickly, another one has fainted here, the nurse on the stand shouted. The corridor outside the emergency room had completely descended into chaos, and all of this, soon, through certain channels, was reported back to the Shen family. After hearing the briefing, my father only said faintly, "Understood, pay attention to the follow-up. Especially the health condition of that child." My mother sighed, grabbing my hand. "What a sin, that child is innocent too." I remained silent, not feeling much turmoil in my heart. Innocent, perhaps, but his arrival was built on deception and harm from the start. The causes sown by Su Yan and Lin Wanwan have now borne bitter fruit. Everyone must take responsibility for their own choices. However, this ridiculous farce seems far from reaching its climax. Su Yang woke up in a hospital observation ward filled with the smell of disinfectant. A dull ache pounded at the back of his head, and there was a rusty, fishy taste in his mouth. He opened his eyes and saw the pale ceiling above. A few seconds of confusion. Memories rushed back like a tide. The furious creditor, the blood beneath Lin Wanwan, his mother's shattered cries and curses, and that despair and nausea that seemed to drain his very soul. Yang, are you awake? Wang Xiuying rushed to the bedside with red, swollen eyes, tears still on her face, but compared to last night's hysteria there was more fear and exhaustion. "You nearly scared Mom to death. The doctor said you had a heart attack triggered by overexertion, plus low blood sugar. Nothing serious, just observe for a while and you'll be fine." Su Yang didn't say a word, only rolled his eyes, looking toward the empty ward. "Where is Lin Wanwan? Where is the child?" As if sensing what he was thinking, Wang Xiuying's complexion darkened, sighed, and spoke with a complex tone. "Wanwan is still under observation in the obstetrics and gynecology ward. The bleeding has stopped. The doctor said she needs to rest. The child is in NICU, in a warming incubator, tubes inserted. The doctor said he's temporarily stabilized, but we'll have to see how it goes later." She paused, her voice dropping. "It costs a lot per day. The nurse just came to demand payment again. I've paid all the last bit of money I had on me, but it isn't enough for one day yet." Money, again money. Su Yang closed his eyes, feeling that nauseating churn rise again. Also, Wang Xiuying hesitated for a moment, stammering, "Just now, Wanwan's mother came from our hometown to be with her there. Her face didn't look good, asking this and that. I didn't dare mention the debt with usury. I only said she had a small fall. Wanwan's mother came." Su Yang's heart clenched even tighter. That rural old lady, although not educated, is hot-tempered. If she finds out the truth, while he was thinking, the hospital room door was pushed open. A grandmotherly woman, dressed plainly, with a dark complexion and sharp, shrewd eyes, walked in. It was Lin Wanwan's mother, Zhao Chunmei. Behind her followed a middle-aged man in a wrinkled suit, with a furtive look and somewhat slick, Lin Wanwan's cousin by marriage, Lu Daong, the same cousin who had helped Lin Wanwan rent a high-end apartment earlier. As soon as Zhao Chunmei entered, her gaze felt like a blade, scraping across Su Yang. "Su Yang, you explain it clearly to me. How did Wanwan end up falling like this? She was fine at home. How could she suffer a preterm birth with such heavy bleeding?" Zhao Chunmei raised her voice, with a sense of coming to demand accountability. "Also, why is my granddaughter-in-law going to stay in such an expensive ward when she's so little? 10,000 a day. What on earth does your family do for a living? You can't even take care of a pregnant woman." Wang Xiuying's face paled. She wanted to argue, but Su Yang halted her with a look. Su Yang struggled to sit up, weakly speaking. "And Zhao, it was an accident. Wanwan unintentionally, an accident." Zhao Chunmei didn't believe it at all. She pointed at Su Yang's nose. "Su Yang, don't try to fool me. When I came, I heard the nurse downstairs say it was due to fright or stress. Did something happen at home? Did you get into trouble?" Implicating my daughter and grandson, Su Yang was speechless, cold sweat oozing out again. Lu Daong tugged Zhao Chunmei's sleeve from the side, whispering, "Aunt, don't get worked up. let's talk this out calmly. Su-young is sick too, after all. But his eyes kept flitting between Su-young and Wang Xiuying, as if evaluating something. Zhao Chunmei shook off Lu Dayong's hand and stared at Su-young. Su-young, I'm laying this out today. My daughter followed you when there was no status or rank, now she's had a son for you. Endured so much hardship, suffered so much. If you're a man, you've got to take responsibility. I want you to cover my grandson's medical expenses, and Wanwan's nutrition, convalescence fees. You have to pay for all of it, not a penny less. Su-young opened his mouth but could not produce a sound. What could he possibly manage? Wang Xiuying couldn't hold back anymore and spoke with a quivering voice. Mother-in-law, it's not that we don't care, it's really, our family is having a hard time too. Yang job ran into some problems, and at home, problems with work. Zhao Chunmei's voice grew sharper. When work goes wrong, you abandon your wife and kids. I'm telling you, Su-young, you swore to take care of Wanwan for life, to give her and the child the best. Now you want to welch. Not a chance. My daughter won't be with you for nothing. My grandson won't suffer for nothing either. Lu Dayong leaned in again at this moment, a false smile on his face as he tried to smooth things over. Aunt Zhao, Brother Su, everyone, don't hurry, don't quarrel. The most important thing right now is Wanwan and the baby's safety. Money matters can be discussed slowly. He shifted the conversation, looking at Su-young. But Brother Su, I've heard that house and car you mentioned before seem to have some trouble. Are you really facing a big cash flow difficulty? Su-young's heart tightened as he watched Lu Dayong warily. This guy is quite well informed. Lu Dayong rubbed his hands together and lowered his voice. Brother Su, if we really lack money, I do have a way. But it might be a bit urgent. The interest rate would be a little higher, but it could relieve the immediate danger. The child cannot wait. Is it another payday loan? Whenever Su-young hears those words, his scalp tingles. He quickly shakes his head. No, we don't need it. I'll think of another way. Zhao Chunmei wouldn't back down. Think of a way. What kind of way are you thinking? My grandson is waiting for money to save his life. Dayong has a way. Why don't you hurry and take it? Do you want to see my grandson suffer because there's no money for treatment? Su-young, how could your heart be so hard? Wang Xiuying was anxious too. In-laws, you can't borrow that high-interest loan. It's a bottomless pit. What already? Zhao Chunmei keenly seized the topic. What has happened to you all? Have you already owed a lot of money outside? Su-young, tell me, have you owed debts outside? Only then did you scare Wanwan, causing my granddaughter to be premature. Things had reached this point, and it was clear that the deceit could no longer be hidden. Su-young's face turned ashen, and Wang Xiuying covered her face and cried. At this moment, the door to the ward was pushed open again. This time a doctor wearing a white coat and a mask walked in, holding a folder. He glanced at the people in the ward and asked in a formal tone, "Who is Lin Wanwan's husband?" Su-young. Su-young paused for a moment, then realized it was addressing him. Although he wasn't married, the child was born, and the hospital assumed he was a relative. I am, the doctor walked to his bedside, opened the folder, and took out a report, looking a little serious. Mr. Su, there are some things about the newborn that we need to communicate with you. This is the preliminary report of the basic screening and blood type testing we routinely perform when the baby first arrives. Su-young's heart leaped. Doctor, the baby, what's wrong with the baby? Wang Xiuying and Zhao Chunmei also gathered around, tense. The doctor pushed up his glasses and pointed to a few lines on the report. From the blood type testing there are some questions. According to Mendelian genetics, the combination of the parents' blood types determines the possible blood types of the child. The mother Lin Wanwan is blood type O. Mr. Su, I recall that your admission record shows blood type A, correct? Su-young nodded numbly. Why yes, that's right, I'm type A. What's up? The doctor's tone remained calm, but what he said was like a bomb drop. In theory, a father with type A blood and a mother with type O blood can only have children with type A or type O blood, but the initial blood test for the newborn shows type AB type. Su-young didn't react at first. Wang Xiuying and Zhao Chunmei also looked at each other. Lu Dayong's face instantly changed, and a trace of panic flashed in his eyes. The doctor nodded and continued to explain. Yes, AB type, among parents with this blood type combination, it is absolutely impossible for this to occur. Therefore, our preliminary suspicion is that there may be sample contamination or a registration error, but to be rigorous and to avoid potential medical risks in the future, such as blood typing for transfusion, we suggest that once the child's condition is stable, and paternity tests be performed as soon as possible to confirm the biological parent-child relationship. Paternity test, a blood type that should not appear. Su Yang's mind exploded with a loud blast in an instant. He suddenly grabbed the doctor's arm, his eyes almost popping out. Doctor, what did you say? Say that again. AB type, impossible. Could there have been a mistake? There must have been a mistake. Wang Xiuying also understood and screamed, AB type. My son is type A, that fox spirit is type O. How could they possibly have an AB type child? This is absolutely impossible. Doctor, you must have made a mistake. Zhao Chunmei was first stunned. Then her face turned extremely ugly. She rushed over, shoved Wang Xiuying aside, and shouted at the doctor, what nonsense are you talking? My daughter is clean and pure. The child is Su Yang's, AB type or not AB type. You must have made a mistake at your hospital. Do you want to extort money? The doctor was a bit embarrassed by the scene, but still maintained professional composure. This family member, please calm down. I am only basing on medical knowledge and test results to present a possibility. Blood type testing has a very low margin of error, but an AB type result is extremely unlikely given your parents' blood types. Paternity testing is the most scientific and direct way to confirm. We also suggest it to be responsible for the child. Responsibility. I think you're up to no good. Zhao Chunmei spit as she flung saliva. Lu Daong hurried forward to hold Zhao Chunmei. His face turned pale, and he forced a smile. Doctor, thank you for your hard work. It might really have been a mistake. We'll check again. As he spoke, he tried to urge the doctor out. The doctor shook his head, placing the report on the bedside cabinet. The report is here. You family members read it yourselves. I've already given the recommendations. You decide yourselves. After speaking, he turned and left the ward, clearly not wanting to get involved in this family dispute. The ward was deathly silent. Su Yang fixed his gaze on the report. The letters AB on the report burned like red-hot irons, scorching his eyes until they hurt. It's impossible. Lin Wan, how could she dare? Wang Xiuying burst out first, barking like crazy toward Zhao Chunmei. Fine, the Lin family's good daughter, stealing people, got pregnant with a bastard, coming to deceive our Su family, deceive my son's money, deceive our house. Now you've given birth to a freak of type AB. Do you still have no shame? I'll tear you apart. Although Zhao Chunmei felt guilty, she was also provoked and fought back, turning around to grab Wang Xiuying and tear at her. Shit, your son is useless. He can't protect his wife and child, yet you want to blame others. Who knows if your Su family ancestors were unvirtuous and unable to produce good seeds? Blaming my daughter, I'll fight you. The two old ladies instantly wrestled into a tangle, curses and cries echoing through the hospital ward. Lu Daong wanted to intervene but didn't dare approach. Pacing in a frenzy, Su Yang did not move at all. He was like a statue, rigid on the bed, his eyes not blinking as he stared at the report. The flush on his face faded bit by bit, finally turning into a horrifying grayish blue. Those scenes with Lin Wanwan together, those sweet words, those complaints about his and Shinchinyua's marriage, those visions of the future, at this moment they all turned into the most vicious sarcasm. He suddenly recalled that when Lin Wanwan was with him, she would deliberately or unintentionally mention her capable business in the South ex-boyfriend. He thought of Lu Daong's overly attentive care for Lin Wanwan. He remembered Lin Wanwan's wary eyes when she received certain calls. So, he wasn't the white knight who picked up the pieces. He might not have even picked up the task, just a fool who was played around in circles and exploited. He had raised a woman for others, and now he would have to raise a sick child for others, and he would have to shoulder a mountain of debt. Su Yang let out a savage, beast-like roar, grabbed the glass tumbler on the nightstand, and smashed it hard on the ground. Bang, the glass shattered, water splashed everywhere. Wang Xiuying and Zhao Chunmei, tangled in a struggle, were startled by the roar and paused briefly. Su Yang, his eyes reddened, like a cornered beast choosing its prey, fixed his gaze on Lu Daong, whose pale face and evasive eyes trembled. He forced out through gritted teeth, Lu Daong, the child, is it yours? Lu Daong trembled all over, waving his hands frantically, his voice shaky. Suji, what are you saying? This is impossible. It's a misunderstanding. It must be a hospital mix-up. Misunderstanding. Su Yang gave a wretched, hollow laugh, that laugh more unpleasant than crying. AB-type blood, Lin Wanwan's cousin, treating her so well. Lu Daong, do you think I'm a fool? He suddenly dragged the blanket aside, ignoring his dizziness, staggered to his feet, grabbed the report, and stumbled toward the ward exit. Yang Yang, where are you going? Wang Xiuying, where are you going? Su Yang turned around, his face contorted into a brutal smile that mixed madness, despair, and a craving for destruction. I'm going to ask Lin Wanwan, ask her about the AB-type wild thing crawling out of her belly, whose it really is. I will ruin the Lin family, utterly destroying their name and reputation. He dashed out like a gust of wind, leaving Wang Xiuying standing dumbfounded in the ward, Zhao Chunmei with a face as pale as earth, and Lu Daong with a sweaty forehead and a panicked look in his eyes. The truth is often uglier than one imagines, and when this ugly truth is torn open in a bloody, desperate moment, what it provokes will be a complete betrayal and an all-out destructive recklessness. Su Yang's world, at this moment, completely turned black, and the last shred of humanity and rationality in his heart burned away with that AB-type blood report. Su Yang charged into the obstetrics and gynecology ward like a wounded, mad beast. Lin Wanwan lay on the bed, weak and pale, her mother Zhao Chunmei not yet arrived, and only a caregiver standing by. Seeing Su Yang rush in with his hair in disarray, eyes red, gripping a report in his hand, Lin Wanwan recoiled in fear, and the caregiver also stood up warily. Su Yang, what's wrong with you? Lin Wanwan's voice was as thin as a mosquito. What's wrong? Su Yang slammed the blood-type report onto Lin Wanwan's quilt with a harsh, hoarse, distorted voice. Lin Wanwan, tell me, what the hell is with this AB-type blood? I'm type A, you're type O. Was AB-type just something that popped out from the crack of a rock? When Lin Wanwan saw the words AB-type on the report, her face turned as pale as paper with a sudden schwa and she trembled, her eyes filled with fear and panic. And no, impossible, it must be a hospital error. Yangji, you have to believe me. Do you believe me? Su Yang leaned forward, hands braced on either side of the hospital bed, his face nearly touching Lin Wanwan's, his exhaled breath carrying a crazed, fishy scent. Lin Wanwan, you still want to fool me now? Where is Lu Daong, your so-called cousin? Where is he? Is the child his? You fucking treat me like a monkey and toy with me. No, not his, Lin Wanwan cried, shaking her head, tears streaming down. Yangji, the child really is yours. This report must be wrong. We can do a paternity test. Once we do, we'll know for sure. His voice was too loud and drew the nurse over. The nurse frowned and came in. Sir, this is a ward. Please keep quiet and don't disturb the laboring woman. Su Yang suddenly stood up straight, pointing at Lin Wanwan and shouting at the nurse, quiet, this cheap bitch is outside cheating on me, gave birth to a wild brat and wants to pin it on me. How do you expect me to stay quiet? The nurse was frightened by his appearance, and when she also saw Lin Wanwan crying desperately, she hurriedly pressed the call button. Soon the doctor and security arrived, and they coaxed and dragged the crazily acting Su Yang out of the ward, warning him that if he caused more trouble they would call the police. Su Yang was driven out of the hospital building, standing under the chilly autumn sun, but he felt his whole body on fire. Humiliation, anger, the stabbing pain of being utterly betrayed, and the panic of having nowhere to go, almost tearing him apart. He trembled as he took out his phone, its screen cracked with a split. He flipped through the contacts, trying to find someone who could help him. He no longer dared to try those drinking buddies. He thought of his uncle, the only relative on his father's side who still had a little contact with him. The phone rang for a long time before it was answered. Hey, uncle, it's me, Su Yang. Su Yang tried hard to make his voice sound normal. Oh, Xiaoyang, is something the matter? Uncle's voice sounded a bit distant, with a touch of detachment. Uncle, I have an urgent matter here and need money urgently. Could you help me perhaps? Su Yang forced himself to speak. Money, old uncle cut him off, his tone turning subtle. Xiaoyang, I'm not saying this is your uncle. I've heard some things about you lately. You say you have a good job. Why, Sai, our Su family has always been honest and upright for generations. We can't bear to see that man disgraced. Money, my funds are tight too. I can't help you. You should reflect properly. Admit your mistakes. Make amends where possible. Don't end things in desperation, remorse. Admitting fault to Shinqingyue, Su Yang felt a pressure building inside. Before he could speak again, old uncle found an excuse to end the call and hurriedly hung up. Not even the last bit of kinship remained. Su Yang wasn't willing to give up. He called again, a former businessman ally who had treated him like a brother, a boss named Sun. When the call connected, Boss Sun was surprisingly enthusiastic. Ah, Suku, oh no, That should be Sue, Sue Laudi, what? Made you think to call your older brother, son? Su Yang licked his cracked lips. I've run into trouble, I'm money-strapped. You think you could advance me around 180,000, the interest is easy to speak of, I'll repay as soon as possible. 180,000, boss son's voice immediately shifted, exaggeratedly uneasy. Junior Sue, it's not that I won't help you, it's that business has been tough lately. We can't even collect payments from suppliers. I'm almost unable to feed myself, and, little brother, I hear you've got quite a lot of trouble on your end. My small-time business can't stand much wind or waves. Here, I have a few matters on my side. I'll hang up first. We'll talk again later, brother son. Only the busy tone remained on the phone. Su Yang held the phone, standing on the street, watching the flow of people and cars, and for the first time clearly felt what it means that the world is cold and human relations are warm. Or cold, those who used to circle around him, flatter him, and beg him to handle things, now avoid him like a snake. The phone rang again, this time from a completely unfamiliar number. He numbly answered. Hello, is this Su Yang? A cold male voice asked. It's me, we are from Shinda Financial Company. The other party gave a name Su Yang had never heard, but the tone was exactly like Biaoji's people earlier. The money you owe to Biaogu, with principal and interest, is 680,000. Biaogu has already transferred this debt to our company. Today is the deadline. Before 8 o'clock tonight, if you don't see the money credited to the designated account, we will take all legal and necessary measures to pursue repayment, including but not limited to on-site collection, notifying all your social connections, applying to the court for compulsory execution of your remaining assets under your name, and you may need to bear some personal safety risks. I will send the account information to your phone. Handle it as you see fit. The call dropped. Immediately afterward, a text message arrived with the bank account number and the deadline, 680,000, 8 o'clock in the evening, risk to personal safety. Su Yang felt a chill rise from his soles to the crown of his head. His limbs went cold. Brother Biao has handed the debt over to a more professional financial company. That means the counterpart's methods might be more persistent. What to do? What can he do? Steal, rob, or go ask Shen Qingyue? Again, this name twists in his mind like a curse. Yes, Shen Qingyue, everything started because of her. If not for that father using connections to stir trouble against him, he wouldn't have lost his job, wouldn't have fallen into a desperate situation. She must be held responsible. She can't just wash her hands of it like this. A crazy and despicable notion quickly grew and expanded in his desperate heart. What does Shen Qingyue value most? Face. What does that top official father value most? Reputation. If he blows things up, makes it widely known that Su Yang was bullied by the Shen family and driven to the edge, even using his and Lin Wanwan's romantic entanglement as a plot point, portraying himself as a pitiful person crushed by the second-generation official wife, would the Shen family be pressed to do something for the sake of peace, to lend him a hand, at least make the creditors hesitate? Once this thought arose, he couldn't suppress it anymore, like a drowning man clinging to the last straw. Even if this straw is poisonous brambles, he doesn't care. He needs a platform, he needs public opinion. He thought of a local online forum famous for breaking news and gossip, and a few self-media accounts that like to sensationalize social news. He used to scoff at them, but now this might be his only lifeline. Su Yang, as if possessed, rushed into a smoky internet cafe by the street and started up a machine. His hands trembled as he began editing a post on a forum. He described his marriage with Shen Qingyue as a tragedy of mismatched families, portrayed Shen Qingyue as a haughty and willful noblewoman who cannot bear children yet is consumed by jealousy, wrote Lin Wanwan as a pitiful woman who truly loved him but was oppressed by her ex's power, and claimed that the fake divorce was an unequal treaty imposed by Shen Qingyue's family to save face, blaming all his current down-and-out state on the Shen family's striking back and abusing power. For personal gain, he did everything in his power to invert black and white and cry poor and pitiful, erasing all facts of his own cheating, deceit, and taking high-interest loans, while only highlighting the Shen family's power and cruelty. At the end of the post, he tearfully accused and lamented that his job had been lost, his property seized, and now he was driven to despair by high-interest lenders, begging the broad internet audience to seek justice and not let the powerful get away with it. After finishing, he gritted his teeth and attached a few blurry photos of past snapshots with Shen Qingyue, cropped to remove Shen Qingyue's face. as well as a photo of the red-headed document of his dismissal. The specific unit and content about conduct issues were obscured, and a corner of a hospital bill. To increase credibility, he checked once more, clicked publish, seeing the post's successful prompt. He sighed heavily, a twisted sense of satisfaction welling up inside him. Shinqingyue, Xinguodong, you won't let me have a good life, so I'll tear off a layer of your skin too. Let's see who's more afraid of making a fuss. Then, he found several locally well-known people's livelihood exposé social media accounts. Through back-end messages, private messages, etc., he sent the link to the post and the accusations, hoping they would focus on disadvantaged groups and expose the malfeasance of the powerful. After all this, it was almost dark. There were less than 3 hours until 8 o'clock. Su-young slumped in the greasy chair at the internet cafe, his eyes fixed on the screen, constantly refreshing the posts he had made. At first there were only a few replies, mostly people watching the show and waiting for more updates, but gradually, there were more and more replies. Damn, is this for real? If it's true, that woman's family is really bad, isn't it? Sympathize with the original poster. Nowadays ordinary people are really tough. No picture, no truth, waiting for a solid piece of evidence, feels a bit fake, one-sided. If there really were a boss's father in power, would the original poster still be posting here? It would have been censored long ago. The public opinion did not completely side with him. There were plenty of voices of doubt as well. Su-young was a bit antsy. He needed stronger materials, and more importantly, to find Shinqingyue and apply pressure in person. If he could threaten her with death in front of Shinqingyue, or cause a big commotion that passers-by could film and post online, would the effect be better? This thought excited him. He knew Shinqingyue lived in that large residence he couldn't enter, but he also knew the high-end mall her mother occasionally visited, as well as the private bookstore and yoga studio Shinqingyue herself frequented before marriage. Whether she would go after the divorce, he wasn't sure. But he could try his luck. He must find Shinqingyue. In front of her, he will perform this scene to the fullest. Su-young bolted out of the internet cafe as if energized by chicken blood, drove straight to the mall in the city center where Shinqingyue's mother often goes. He remembered Shinqingyue saying that her mother liked the fabrics from an old-fashioned silk store there. He wandered through the mall like a headless fly, his eyes scanning every middle-aged woman who looked like a rich wife. After nearly an hour, he had nothing to show for it. He thought again of that private bookstore, located in a cultural and creative park, a quiet environment that Shinqingyue used to visit on weekends. When he arrived at the bookstore, it was already dark. The store was warm with lights, and there were few customers. Through the glass window, he spotted at a glance the figure sitting by the window, head bowed quietly as they read. It is Shinqingyue. She is wearing a light gray cashmere sweater, her hair loosely up, her profile soft and tranquil, blending with the surrounding environment as if she carries a barrier that isolates the clamor. After days apart, the calm aura about her, once it made him think she was gentle, now it makes him hate her, seems even more concentrated. She looks like she's doing very well, too well. Su-young's heart pounded wildly, blood rushing to his head. It was now or never. He tidied his wrinkled clothes, wiped his face, and pushed open the bookstore door. The wind chime above the door jingled crisply. Shinqingyue seemed to be startled, raising her head to look over. When her eyes settled on Su-young's face, in those clear eyes there was none of the surprise, panic, or disgust Su-young had expected. Instead, there was a vast, bottomless calm, and a hint of understood coldness. It seemed she had long anticipated his arrival. Su-young was pierced by that look, but with the arrow already on the string, he had to shoot. He drew a deep breath, and a face instantly filled with pain, humiliation, and a look of accusation. And he walked step by step toward Shinqingyue's seat. Other customers and shop assistants in the bookstore looked over curiously. Qingyue, Su-young's voice quivered, unusually abrupt in the quiet bookstore. I finally found you. Please, spare me. I really know I'm wrong. I've lost everything. Can't you give us a way out? Shinqingyue closed the book and watched his performance quietly, without a word. Su-young, seeing her unmoved, grit his teeth and suddenly, with a thud, knelt directly in the aisle in front of Shinqingyue's desk. Qingyue, I'm begging you, for the sake of us being married for 3 years, have your father help you out. I've lost my job, lost my house and car, and I still owe high-interest loans. They're coming tonight to cut off my hand. And Wanmeng, she gave premature birth. The baby is gravely ill. The hospital costs tens of thousands every day. I'm truly at the end of my rope. Do you want to push me to death? Soo-young cried with tears streaming down, his voice growing louder and louder, causing everyone in the bookstore to stare in astonishment, some quietly taking out their phones. Shinchinyue remained seated, her gaze calm as it settled on the kneeling man wailing on the ground, as if watching a clumsy play that had nothing to do with her. After his crying subsided a bit, she spoke slowly, not loud, but clear enough for everyone to hear. Soo-young, your job was terminated because of your unsavory lifestyle and suspected financial improprieties. With an official red-headed notice as proof, it has nothing to do with my father. Your house and car are being kept by you in the divorce because you concealed my investment, attempting to leave me with nothing. I am lawfully pursuing my legal rights, with bank statements and contracts as evidence. The court has already accepted the case. The usurious loan you owe was borrowed by you for so-called business and to squander, and the loan note has your name on it. Lin Wanwan gave birth prematurely because you were harassed by loan sharks demanding debt, and the fright was excessive. The child is seriously ill. I am very sorry, but that is the responsibility you must bear as parents. As for the path to survive, Shinchinyue leaned in slightly, watching Soo-young's face stiffen in an instant. One word, one syllable at a time, cold as iron. The road is one you walk yourself. When you chose deceit, betrayal, and usury, you should have considered that today might come. No one forced you. You, step by step, have closed off every possible path. Now, please stand up and leave here. Do not disturb me from reading, and do not try to manipulate me with this clumsy method of moral coercion or public opinion coercion again. That will only make you look worse. After finishing speaking, Shinchinyue picked up the book again, her gaze returning to the pages as if what knelt before her was not a person but a troublesome mass of air. Soo-young knelt on the ground, tears, mucus, and snot smeared across his face, but his expression had completely hardened. He had imagined Shinchinyue's various reactions, panic, anger, compromise, even calling security, but he had not expected that she would be so utterly calm, piercing through all of his performances and scheming in an instant, and trampling them beneath her calm foot with scorn. The gazes of the people around him shifted from initial surprise and pity to doubt, scrutiny, and even contempt. A few guests who had originally planned to film a video hesitated and lowered their phones, just at that moment. The bookstore's door was pushed open again. Two men, ordinary in dress but tall and with sharp eyes, walked in, straight to Shinchinyue's side, whispered something, then, one to the left and one to the right, stood beside Soo-young who was still kneeling on the ground. Mr. Soo, please leave, one of the men spoke, his tone unhesitating, and he stretched out his hand, seemingly casual but with full force, helped Soo-young up from the ground. Soo-young recognized that these two men bore a striking resemblance in temperament to the guards who had gone to the Civil Affairs Bureau to fetch Shinchinyue earlier. They were people from the Shin family. He was half forced to be helped toward the doorway, struggling to turn back, and he shouted at Shinchinyue, "Shinchinyue, you'll regret this. I will make you regret this. I posted a thread. People online know. Your Shin family uses power to oppress others, you all." Before he could finish speaking, he was invited out of the bookstore, shoved into a black sedan parked by the roadside for who knows how long. The car sped away, disappearing into the night. The bookstore has fallen quiet again. Shinchinyue did not move a single inch from start to finish, not even a flicker of an eyebrow. She turned a page in the book, and in her heart she knew that Soo-young's last-ditch counterattack was nothing more than a self-inflicted humiliation farce. And this farce would soon come to a more complete end. Online posts. She received a notification not long after Soo-young posted it. On the father's side, there would naturally be a way to handle it. A clown is ultimately just a clown. After being invited onto the car, Soo-young was not taken to any terrifying place, but was driven to a remote riverside on the outskirts of the city. The two men helped him out of the car, and the night wind was bitterly cold, making him tremble all over. "Soo-young," one of the men spoke, with no emotion in his voice, "the chief asked me to pass a message to you. Enough with those online tricks. Within an hour, all false posts must be deleted themselves, and you must publicly apologize. Otherwise, that 680,000 high-interest loan you owe, along with the dark holes in your company's accounts that you keep hidden, will be the subject of from the helpful public security investigators, and will be sent to the appropriate place. By then, what you face may be more than just losing your job and owing money." The financial company Shinda will also receive some friendly reminders about your current real financial situation. The man paused, staring at Su Yang's quickly paling face, and continued, "As for causing trouble or harassing Miss-Shin and her family in any way, you can try, see whether you achieve your goal first, or you get sent away for a few years for writing and making trouble, defamation and framing, or some other reason," the chief also said. "Considering the past father-in-law and son-in-law relationship, this is the last warning. Take care of yourself." After finishing, the two men no longer looked at him, turned around to get in the car, and drove away in a cloud of dust, leaving Su Yang alone by the pitch-black river. The night wind howled, biting at his face like a knife. Su Yang slumped on the cold mud, the last of his fantasies and courage crushed entirely by this naked threat and the chill of reality. Delete the post, public apology, then all his previous struggles and performances would become a complete joke. But not doing it, investigation by the police, a tip from the payday loan company, jail. He had no doubt that Shin Guodong possessed this kind of capability and determination. That man did what he said. A gigantic fear and resentment tightened around his throat like two hands, but he had no choice. He trembled as he fumbled out his phone, the screen already badly cracked. He found that forum, logged into a newly created small account, and watched the post that already had many replies and shares. Every line of inverted accusations against him now seemed to mock his stupidity and powerlessness. He trembled, chose to delete, then he endured the humiliation again and used that small account to post a brief so-called clarification that consisted of only one line. "I was overly emotional earlier, and what I said was untrue. I apologize to the relevant parties." After posting, he immediately canceled the account, as if that could erase all traces. After finishing these tasks, he seemed to have had all his strength drained. He lay on the cold river bank, staring at the starless night sky, feeling that all hope had faded. Shin Qingyue, the Shin family, they would snuff out even the last flicker of his fantasy of dying together. He didn't know how long he had been lying by the river until his limbs stiffened with frost and he struggled to get up, wandering back toward the city like a ghost, with no direction. He dared not go back to the hospital, and he couldn't return home. That sealed-off house, in the end, with only a few remaining yuan on him, he huddled and spent the night in a corner of a black market internet cafe in a city suburb, waiting for dawn. In the next few days, Su Yang completely vanished from everyone's sight. Wang Xiuying, couldn't reach him by phone, and could only take care of Lin Wanwan, who was still in the hospital. Even though she despised her deeply, the child was officially Su's family, and Zhao Chunmei watched her like a hawk. At the same time, she had to deal with the hospital's increasingly frequent demands for payment. The newborn's condition fluctuated, and the expenses flowed out like a river. Zhao Chunmei and Lu Daong, upon seeing Su Yang's complete disappearance, grew more and more hostile, threatening several times to abandon Lin Wanwan and the child to the Wang family. And that 680,000 in usury loan, after the repayment date, actually didn't immediately lead to violent collection. Instead, there were occasional cold-toned phone calls reminding him to repay, and the interest snowballing. Su Yang knew that Shin Guodong's warning was taking effect, but it was only temporarily delaying the worst outcome. This debt hovered over him like a Damoclean sword, unsure when it would fall. While Su Yang hid and skulked like a rat in the gutter, barely surviving, the Shin family was full of joy and celebration. Father Shin Guodong was awarded a first-class individual merit for his outstanding leadership and prominent contribution in a recent important mission, and he has been promoted to a higher position. Although, given his rank and age, this is more of an honor and recognition, it is still a great cause for celebration for the Shin family and the entire relevant system. The family decided to hold a small celebratory banquet, inviting only close friends and a few veteran colleagues and old comrades, to celebrate in a low-key manner. The banquet is held at a private manor club on the eastern side of the city, not open to the public and only serving certain members. The environment is elegant and serene, with strict security. On the evening of the banquet, I arrived at the club with my parents well in advance. I wore a simple yet impeccably tailored champagne-colored knee-length dress, paired with pearl earrings, with my hair gathered into an elegant bun. It was courteous without being ostentatious. My mother wore a graceful Chinese qipao, and my father dressed in his usual clothes, but the metal on his chest glowed brilliantly under the lighting. Guests arrived one after another, all dignified and well-mannered elders, with a few young people around my own age, mostly children of old families. The atmosphere was warm and lively, filled with sincere congratulations and cheerful chit-chat. I held a wine glass, standing beside my parents, responding appropriately to the care and inquiries of the uncles, aunts, and elders. Many people knew I had just gone through a divorce, But they were considerate and asked few questions, instead gently encouraging me to look forward. Chinue is becoming more poised every day. One Uncle Lee, who has watched me grow up, smiled at my father. Old Chin, you're lucky. My father rarely showed such a wide smile. Patting my shoulder, I looked at everything in front of me, feeling the warmth and kindness from people who truly care about me, and the last bit of shadow left by Soo-young gradually being swept away by this bright atmosphere. This is my world, the life I was meant to have. Halfway through the banquet, everyone moved to the terrace outside the banquet hall, where a refined buffet and a live band had been prepared, making the ambience even more relaxed. I was talking with my mother and two aunts when suddenly, a faint commotion came from the entrance of the terrace. I instinctively looked up. Two men in the club uniforms, clearly security personnel, were blocking someone who was trying to force his way inside. That person's clothes were wrinkled, his hair disheveled, his beard untrimmed, and he looked out of place among the surrounding elegance. Even from a distance, I could recognize at a glance that face, full of resentment, anxiety, and unwillingness, the face of Soo-young. Did he actually come here and try to sneak in? My heart sank slightly, but then the rise of fear was followed by a cold ridicule. He really isn't willing to give up, or perhaps he's just incredibly stupid. Mother saw it too, her face changing as she grasped my hand tightly. Father stood not far away, talking with a few old comrades, seems to have noticed the commotion over there as well. His brows slightly knitted, whispering something to Brother Chin beside him. Brother Chin nodded, then quickened his pace toward the entrance. The disturbance here drew the attention of a small circle of guests, and everyone's eyes turned curiously in that direction. Soo-young was held back firmly by security, but he stretched out his neck, eyes like searchlights scanning the crowd, and soon he locked onto me. A flash of despair, madness, and a last-ditch glare erupted in his eyes. He suddenly raised his volume, his voice hoarse and unpleasant, piercing through the band's soothing music. Chinue, you get out here. Your Shin family holds a celebration banquet, glorious as can be, and you've driven me to a dead end. Let everyone judge. The Shin family uses its power to oppress others, seizes my family property, makes me lose my job, and now even my last bit of livelihood is gone. Is there any justice left? His shouting sounded especially harsh on the quiet terrace. All the guests were stunned, conversation ceased, and the music seemed to pause for a moment. Countless eyes wandered between me and Soo-young, surprise, doubt, and then understanding and contempt. I gently patted my mother's hand, signaling her not to worry. Then I set down my wine glass, and under everyone's gaze, I slowly, with a poised and calm demeanor, stepped a few paces toward the entrance, stopping at a position that allowed Soo-young to clearly see me while keeping me at a proper distance from most of the guests. Soo-young, my voice was not loud, but it carried clearly with an undeniable calm. This is my father's private celebratory banquet, invitation only for close family and friends. You did not receive an invitation. Intruding into a private venue is already a crime. Please leave immediately. Leave? On what basis should I leave? Soo-young, seeing that I finally paid attention to him, grew even more agitated, struggling to break through the security barrier. Chinue, don't pretend to be so aloof. Today I am here to tear off the fake mask of your Shin family in front of everyone. You use your power to oppress me, ruin my reputation, leave me with nothing, and now you're here, singing and dancing about. Doesn't your conscience ache? Power, oppressing you? I tilted my head slightly, as if I heard something ridiculous. Soo-young, you were sanctioned by your unit because of dissolute lifestyle and suspected financial problems. The evidence is conclusive and the documents are present. Your properties and vehicles under your name were seized because you concealed my legitimate funds. The evidence chain is complete. The court has filed a case. You incurred high-interest debts. That is your personal conduct. The loan notes are signed in your own handwriting. All of this is supported by written records and legal regulations. What does it have to do with my father? What does it have to do with the Shin family? With each sentence I spoke, Soo-young's face grew uglier. The surrounding guests listened. The originally puzzled expressions gradually cleared, and the gazes directed at Soo-young carried unconcealed disgust and contempt. Those who could come here were clear-eyed people. The truth is evident at a glance. You are being unreasonable by twisting my words. Soo-young was blocked by me into speechlessness, and could only repeat the pale and weak accusation. If it weren't for your father, could I have become what I am today? Chinue? If you hate me, you should come at me head-on. Why go to the extreme? Hate you? I gently shook my head. a hint of genuine pity in my tone. "Soo-young, you're wrong, I don't even hate you now. Hatred is a strong emotion, and you don't deserve it. As for going to the extreme," I paused, my gaze sweeping over his face twisted by excitement and defeat, and my voice grew colder. "The path is your own choice, the debt is yours to owe. No one held a knife to your neck and forced you to cheat, to deceive, to borrow at usurious rates. Adults must take responsibility for every choice they make. Everything you're enduring now is only the price you must pay for your past actions. It has nothing to do with anyone else, only you." My words were like a basin of ice water, quenching the last trace of his bluffing bravado. He opened his mouth, watching my calm, razor-sharp gaze, watching the guests around him understand clearly and then disdainfully, and then looking at himself, covered in shame. Restrained tightly by security, in a most awkward situation, a colossal sense of shame and a thorough sense of failure overwhelmed him like a tsunami. He realized that today's actions not only failed to achieve any purpose but also shredded his last shred of a pitiful image in front of these people whom he once longed to curry favor with but could not touch, stamping it into the mud. At this moment, Brother Chin had already arrived with the club's manager and 2 other security guards. The manager apologized repeatedly to the guests, then exchanged a look with the security team. The security personnel were no longer polite. The 2 of them, one on each side, hauled the almost limp Soo-young to his feet and, with no further ado, dragged him outside. "Let go of me, let go of me, Shin Chin-yue, you will not meet a good end, Yushin family." Soo-young struggled futilely, cursing, his voice growing fainter, eventually fading away in the corridor leading outside. The terrace returned to silence. The band timely resumed a soft melody. I turned around, facing the guests present, gave a slight bow, with just the right amount of apology and composure on my face. "Sorry, a small unpleasant moment. I've disturbed everyone's elderly grace a little. Chin-yu, you've been wronged." Uncle Lee spoke first, his tone gentle yet firm. "Yes, such ignorant people. Chin-yu, don't take it to heart." The other elders spoke up to comfort as well. "Uncle Shin teaches his daughter well, and Yao Chin-yue handles matters with grace and propriety. Even when facing a scoundrel, she can stay so calm. That's rare." A young aristocrat smiled at his father, his gaze lingering on me with unambiguous admiration. The father nodded to the young man, then walked over to my side and lowered his voice. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine, Dad." I shook my head. The father patted my shoulder, not saying more, but his eyes were filled with trust and support. The banquet continued, as if the discord from earlier had never happened. The atmosphere quickly returned to harmony and warmth. I raised the wine glass again, walked to the edge of the terrace, and looked at the sparkling city lights in the distance. The night breeze brushed my face, carrying a touch of early winter chill, yet it made me unusually alert. That final, crazy, and desperate look in Soo-young's eyes flashed through my mind. I knew that after this battle, he was completely finished. Not only had he lost everything material, but his spirit and dignity had also utterly collapsed. Even his last semblance of resistance had become a self-directed, self-dramatizing farce, reduced to a joke, and my life had just torn open a new chapter. In this world that belonged to me, a bright and splendid world, a clown like Soo-young, who struggles to become something to talk about, would seem utterly insignificant. I took a sip of the slightly cool champagne in the glass, a faint curve forming at the corner of my mouth. Dust, about to settle completely. The farce at the celebration banquet was like the last stone thrown into the lake. After the ripples spread out, the surface returned to calm, but everything beneath the water had already settled. From the day Soo-young was invited out of the private club, he had completely vanished from the city's normal sight. It is said that a few days later, the house that he and Lin Wanwan rented, which had already been sealed with a court notice, had a new on its door, due to debt disputes. The property would soon enter judicial auction procedures, and his Audi, which had also been seized, had already been taken away by the creditor company for asset preservation to satisfy the debt. After learning the house was really going to be taken away, Wang Shuiying became overwhelmed with anxiety and anger from days of shock and exhaustion. She suddenly collapsed from a slight stroke triggered by high blood pressure and was admitted to the hospital. This time, there was no money or effort from her former daughter-in-law, Shin Chin-yue, and no son Soo-young by her side, only her hometown sister, who also had little money, rushed over to take care of her. The once cherished golden grandson lay in the NICU burning money every day. Her son was missing, the house was about to be auctioned, and she had fallen ill. This previously haughty, picky and stingy old lady lay in a regular hospital ward, staring at the pale ceiling with hollow eyes, muttering to herself repeatedly, "Punishment, it's all punishment." Lin Wanwan stayed in the obstetrics ward for nearly half a month before her body barely recovered. The baby was still in the NICU, sometimes doing well, sometimes poorly, and daily medical bills piled up like snowflakes. The little bit of money her mother Zhao Chunmei brought had already run out. Lu Daong had appeared twice during her hospitalization and left some money, but as soon as doctors talked about potential long-term treatment costs and health risks for the child, he disappeared again and his calls went unanswered. Su Yang was even more completely unreachable. Lin Wanwan panicked. Without Su Yang and Lu Daong, she, a new mother who had just given birth and was physically weak, had to care for a premature baby whose condition was unknown. How could she survive? She tried to contact Su Yang's relatives. Once they heard it was her, they either hung up directly or mocked her with cold words. She even gritted her teeth and asked the nurse to help, finding an old contact for Shen Qingyue, long since discontinued, which naturally led to a dead end as well. With no way out, Lin Wanwan and Zhao Chunmei could only cling to a glimmer of hope, waiting for the child to stabilize somewhat before they took him back to their hometown to raise him. As for the subsequent treatment and costs, they could only take it one step at a time. On the day of discharge, they stood at the hospital entrance with the frail, oxygen-using baby cradled in their arms, looking at the traffic and crowds with blank eyes. The dream of reaching Su Yang and anchoring themselves in this big city had collapsed, leaving only the heavy burden in their arms and an unknown, difficult road ahead. Zhao Chunmei looked at her daughter's one face and the child in her arms, and finally couldn't endure it. She pinched Lin Wanwan hard at the hospital entrance, crying and cursing. "I told you a long time ago, that Su Yang can't be trusted. You insist on being with him. Now you see, you got nothing. And you brought home a sickly burden. Who will want you in the future? You've made my old face lose all its dignity." Lin Wanwan held the child, silently shedding tears, not rebutting. Is she remorseful? Maybe, but regret is the most useless thing, and the instigator of all this, Su Yang, is now experiencing the coldest winter of his life. He was like a rat in the gutters, hiding in the city's most chaotic and cheapest urban village rental room. The room was only a few square meters, dark and damp, emanating a musty smell. He used the last bit of money he said was life-saving, that he got from Wang Xiuying, to pay 3 months' rent. The rest was barely enough to buy the cheapest food. The online post was deleted, an apology was issued publicly, and the warning from Shen Wudong's side has not escalated for now, but the debt collection calls and text messages from Xinda Financial Company have never ceased. Interest is snowballing, although they haven't resorted to physical threats yet. He knows this is the lingering intimidation of the Shen family. Those cold, regular reminders of debt growth are more terrifying than outright scolding. It's a slow tightening noose. He didn't dare go out to look for a job. He was under punishment, his reputation ruined. What decent company would hire him? He also tried to take some odd jobs, moving goods and delivering food, but he couldn't swallow his pride or endure the hard work, and often couldn't last more than a couple of days before being fired or quitting on his own. He tried to go to the hospital, sneaking a glance at his mother and child, but when he saw his mother lying pale in a regular ward, and heard the nurses discussing the NICU exorbitant costs and the dilemma of Lin Wanwan and her daughter, a suffocating panic surged through him, and he turned and fled as if escaping. He could not afford it, nor could he face it. The bank card had long since run dry, and his phone faced suspension multiple times due to overdue payments. He began selling off the slightly more valuable things on him, his watch, belt, even that cashmere sweater Shen Qingyue once gave him, which he once cherished deeply. The money he got quickly vanished again, spent on rent and the barest necessities for living. Neighbors in the urban villages are strangers struggling at the bottom. No one cares who he is or what stories he once had. Every day he huddles under a smelly quilt, eyes open, staring at the mottled, peeling ceiling, his mind replaying past fragments. Shen Qingyue's quiet, gentle smile, his mother's sharp sarcasm, Lin Wanwan's coquettish face, the leadership's admiring gaze at work, friends' flattering expressions, and the cold, calm look in Shen Qingyue's eyes when she last looked at him. Regret coils around his heart like poisonous vines, growing tighter the more it tightens. If only he had treated Shen Qingyue a little better back then, if only he could resist temptation, if only he hadn't been so greedy and stupid. But alas, there are no ifs. That night, his electricity was cut off for unpaid bills, and the room was plunged into darkness. He gnawed on a cold steamed bun in the dark, gulping it down with tap water. Outside, the chaotic sounds unique to the urban village crept in. Children's cries, marital quarrels, street vendors' calls. These sounds used to be distant to him, but now they have become the soundtrack of his life. Suddenly, his phone screen lit up in the dark. It was a new payment notice from the Shinda company, with principal and interest. The amount now a number dizzying to look at. The last sentence of the text read, "Given your repeated delinquencies, and your lack of willingness or real action to repay, we will consider taking all lawful measures including but not limited to reporting to the public security authorities, involving financial fraud, disclosing debt information to all known contacts, and applying to the court to place you on the list of dishonored debtors. Deadbeat, you have 3 days to provide a clear repayment plan, otherwise bear the consequences. Dishonest person subject to execution. The deadbeat, this means he will be restricted from high-consumption activities, unable to fly or take high-speed trains, and it could even affect his future, if there is one, in finding a job, renting a house. He will be nailed to the pillar of shame, unable to move an inch. The last ounce of luck in the room for delay are gone as well." Soo-young lay on the cold, damp ground, the steamed bun in his hand fallen to the ground. Covered in dust, he looked at the faint light from his phone screen in the darkness, and that light seemed to mock his incompetence, his failure, his utterly ruined life. Sleeping on the streets. That cold remark from Shinchinua back then came true. No, he doesn't even have the right to sleep soundly on the street now. The narrow, filthy alleys of the urban villages, the underpasses, the park benches, those are his home, and he has almost no strength left to complain or to hate. What remains is endless cold, hunger, and a despair that goes to the bone. Meanwhile, Shinchinua's life had, sailed into a bright, boundless sea of sunshine. After the news that my father was awarded a first-class merit and promoted was officially announced, the family was lively for a few more days, but soon returned to the usual peace and order. My mood also completely calmed down, and the shadow of the past was thoroughly swept away. With the support of my father and mother, I planned my future. I did not choose to return to the monotonous job I used to have, but instead, using the savings I had accumulated over the years, the portion I recovered during the divorce, plus a startup fund given by my parents, I acquired a stake in a small studio focused on cultural heritage and creative design, introduced by a respected elder sister who had good connections. The studio has a great atmosphere and the work aligns with my interests. I started from the basics. Learning and participating, although busy, it is filled with a long-awaited sense of fulfillment and achievement. My mother no longer worries about me all day and has begun to enjoy her retirement life again, traveling with her sisters and attending senior college. My father's work remains busy, but he is vigorous in spirit. Every time he returns home and sees that my mother and I are safe, his brows relax. As for feelings, I haven't thought about it much for now, having gone through such a marriage. I need time to completely repair myself, and I also understand more clearly what kind of person I truly need and what suits me. However, the noble-born youth who expressed admiration for me at the celebratory banquet, through his elders' connections, eventually asked me to dinner openly twice and invited me to an art exhibition once. His name is Zhou Shubai. His family tradition is clean. He works in the diplomatic system, young and capable. His speech is proper, and most importantly, he respects my past and admires my current independent state. We touch base without hurry or pressure, getting along like friends, and it feels very comfortable. What the future holds, let it unfold naturally. On a sunny weekend afternoon, Zhou Shubai and I left a museum, walking and discussing the paintings we had just seen. He needed to go to the airport to pick up a visiting foreign guest, so we said goodbye at the museum entrance. His car had just pulled away, and I was about to hail a taxi by the roadside, my gaze casually scanning the street corner. Then, I saw a figure that was familiar yet unfamiliar. It is Soo-young. He huddled in the corner of a relatively quiet alley along the side of an art gallery, wrapped in an old cotton-padded coat so dirty that no color could be seen, with oily, matted hair and a beard and stubble on his face. In front of him sat a worn enamel bowl, inside which only a few coins remained. He lowered his head, avoided the pedestrian's gaze, and his body trembled slightly in the early winter wind. He seemed to sense something and slowly raised his head, his murky eyes meeting mine across the street with a calm gaze. Time seemed to freeze for a second. His pupils suddenly constricted, and an extremely complex range of emotions flashed across his face: shock, shame, embarrassment, resentment, and finally settled into a dull numbness and evasiveness. He quickly lowered his head, burying his face deeper into the collar of his worn-out coat. Curling up his body as if this would make him disappear from my sight, I watched him quietly for 2 seconds, and there was not a single ripple in my heart, no pleasure, no pity, and no disgust, just like seeing an inconspicuous stone by the roadside, or a cluster of withered weeds, that would not provoke any emotional disturbance. He chose his life, and I walked mine. Since then, a world apart with no intersection, I withdrew my gaze, turned around, just as an empty taxi happened to approach. I opened the door and sat inside. "Miss, where are you going?" the driver asked enthusiastically. "Go to Wutong Road, thank you." I recited the studio's address. The car starts smoothly and departs from the street corner. Outside the window, the city's bustle remains, and the sunlight is just right. In the rearview mirror, the blurry figure curled up in the corner of the wall grew smaller and smaller, eventually disappearing into the traffic and crowd, leaving no trace. My freshman year has just begun. Ahead lies warm light and an endlessly possible future. The end.